Let's go. It is not really Friday, but kind of Friday. People, welcome in the Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Happy Wednesday, but Friday on a Wednesday. Not really Friday. Kind of glad it's our Friday, not your Friday, my Friday, Lonzo's Friday. We're off tomorrow and Friday. So you get us at full volume and full speed ahead today. 4 of the most electrifying hours in sports, talk, entertainment underway. Good to have you. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. It is going to be a busy show on the radio program today. We have got a gazillion and 7 things to talk about over the course of the show. We have not done, this is on me, my bad. We have not done a lot of Major League Baseball lately. And there's a good reason for that. The good reason is the Braves aren't good at baseball. And that is problematic to our ability to discuss the baseballing here on the radio program. By the way, just to get us started off on the right foot, the Braves get punked on the road game 1 against the New York Metropolitans yesterday, 13-5. Pete Alonso goes, not once, but twice, becomes the New York Mets all-time dong leader. Hits 253 and 254 last night, surpasses Darryl Strawberry as the chief dong hitter in Mets history. Spencer Strider takes his 10th loss on the season, 5-10. One of the worst things that is going to come out of this is that Spencer Strider, who is one of the few bright spots for this team, though his record does not indicate that, Spencer Strider is statistically going to look way worse at the conclusion of this season based on what is not happening with his baseball team this year. And I think there is something to be said about that. And the problem I have with that isn't just that it's going to statistically make Spencer Strider look, well, not good on the end of season stat sheet. The problem is that leads to one of 2 things, and I don't think either of them is good. At some point, you are going to have to give Spencer Strider a bump in pay to keep him here. And if you end up stinking out loud next year, like you do this year, there comes a point where Spencer Strider takes the Max Fried approach and says, hasta luego, muchachos. I'm going to head somewhere that I can be on a good team, because this one is not one of them. And it creates a situation where a guy that would be one of the absolute dog frontline starters for an MLB team says he will go be an absolute dog frontline starter somewhere else, for whatever that's worth. Or number 2, it is going to create, when it is time for a contract, some situation where the Braves are going to say, we would like to underpay you, because as I have been pointing out, since the Braves ended up being bought out by a public company, it is now more obvious than ever before. I think in years gone by, you've kind of been able to, at least as a sports fan, and as a sports fan, there's nothing we love more than disillusioning ourselves. We're big fans of disillusioning ourselves, convincing ourselves that there is faith and hope, and it's justified in places where there's not, and there shouldn't be, and it is not. We like to disillusion ourselves. We like to tell ourselves, no, man, our team is actually fine. Our ownership isn't a joke. Our quarterback, ace, frontline pitcher is one of the GOATs, whatever. Like, we love to tell ourselves these little stories that aren't true. It's fun. And under the previous administration in charge of the Atlanta Braves, especially post the 2021 World Series, we were kind of able to do that a little bit. Now it's like, oh no, I can't even come up with that. Can't even disillusion myself any longer that, well, you know, at least we're not prioritizing money over everything. Cash, homies. At least we're not there yet, but now we very clearly are. And if that is the prevailing mentality moving forward with this baseball team, and if you were sending Max Fried out there to go get dusted start after start after start, to be 5-10 after 20 whatever starts this season, then at some point, the Piper comes a call in to get paid. And Max Fried's going to go, excuse me. Well, that's the name I'm going to use because it's going to feel like down the line the inevitable comparison. Spencer Strider is going to come calling for the increase in pay. And as a company that now we are all very clear, Liberty Media is about the dollar bills, y'all, more than they are about being a good baseball team. Then when Spencer Strider comes a calling to get that fat stack paycheck, if the Braves don't just give him what he wants, you create a headbutting contest between the two entities. You create a headbutting contest between one of the crown jewels of the organization right now and the organization right now. The problem when you have a year like this one, and I didn't get into it. I had a conversation with a buddy of mine who's a big Braves guy yesterday. I had a conversation with a buddy of mine, big Braves guy. We were going back and forth because in the final game of the 3-game set before this series, which that 3-game set was 10 years ago, at least it feels like it in Braves time. There was once again, and this is my favorite thing that is happening right now because for whatever reason, it's just part of the identity. At one point, Braves down, game's not over, but game's over. And the camera turns its way over to the Braves dugout, obviously looking for worn out, haggard faces. Signs of frustration, signs of annoyance, signs of being over it at large. And as they turn the camera to the dugout to pick up those demonstrative faces of sadness, anger, rage, disappointment, discontent, whatever it was, as they turn the camera over to the dugout to find those faces, what face do we get? For about the 17th time this season, they turn the camera to the dugout just in time to see Brian Snitker going, as if once again, he was ready to be at home in his jammies, drinking his chamomile tea, and enjoying Murder, She Wrote, or whatever it is he watches at night.
Sounds awesome.
I mean, I don't hate it. I have to tell you. The wife not too long ago bought me. I don't say this. Yesterday I revealed that now I'm team Manny Petty, and now I'm about to go in a whole new direction. Some of y'all's perspective of me is going to change, or maybe not. Maybe it was already low enough. She bought me a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what material they are. They're not fleece, but they're not like spandex. They're this, I mean, when I say super soft, I mean just like baby skin soft. Oh, jammies. Long sleeve, long pants. And I'm not a long sleeve, long pant jammy guy. All right. I in fact, ordinarily, I'm either team sleep in the buff, or if in the buff's not on the table, for whatever reason, it very rarely is. But if team in the buff's not on the table, then it's like, you know, undershirt and boxer briefs, right? Because I don't like to feel my clothes twisting around me as I'm trying to fall asleep. You know, when you lay down and you get comfortable and your pajama pants like wrap around your leg, it's just the worst feeling in the world. Or you turn over, you're laying on your side, you flip to the other side, and the bottom of your shirt doesn't move, but the top does, and now it feels like it's twisted around you like an anaconda, squeezing down. I can't. Not only can I not sleep, I get so aggravated that ends up jolting me awake. She bought me the softest pair of long sleeve, long pants, jammies I've ever had in my life. And I got to tell you, I can't get into pajamas fast enough when I get home. I can't get into the PJs fast. I have been on at least 2 occasions in the last week. The wife gets home from work at like 4:30, and your boy's wide awake, doing work, sitting in the kitchen, knocking out social media videos and whatever, and already in the PJs. She's like, dude, you're an adult. Don't you have stuff to do? And I'm like, I do. And all the stuffs I have to do, I can do them in my PJs.
Wait. You made an adult decision to put on those PJs.
Oh, they're the best.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more adult than going, you know what? I'm going to put pajamas on.
Jammy time. And I told her, I actually did tell her on Monday, I think I told her, I said, you know what? You should be thrilled that you come home at 4:30 in the afternoon and I'm already in the jammies. She's like, why? And I said, because if you come home at 4:30 in the jammies, there is a 0.00% chance I am asking you to leave the house tonight. I am not putting on the jammies and then getting out of the jammies to put on some going out clothes. Because if you learn one thing about Rob Brown, we can be going to the store. We just got to go down to the Walmart. We got to go down to the Publix, wherever we got to go. If we got to go somewhere, I'm putting on clothes. I can't be the guy that goes pajama bottoms and a t-shirt. Like, I am putting on jeans or I'm putting on golf shorts and I'm matching the shirt to it, the right hat. Like, it's just my thing. I don't know why I blame my father. Even if I'm going to the store, it's got to be like an outfit, like clothes. Like, I would wear this to work, comfortable clothes. If you come home at 4:30 and I'm in the jammy jams, especially the comfy ones, 0% chance I'm asking you to leave the house. Quite the opposite. I'm be like, sit your ass on the couch. I'm making dinner. Let's watch Matlock and call it a night or whatever. What are we on right now? What are we watching right now? We finished the Epstein documentaries. Now we are on to, beachfront budget renovations.
Yeah, those are fun.
Those are great.
Yeah, I hate all those people.
Me too.
Because they have the money to do that.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Her and I, we have gotten to the point that, like, we're starting to envision retirement, right? Which, like, more dream than vision, but you get it.
Dude, you went from dreading 40 to now talking about
full
retirement.
Embrace. It's been a wild ride. So we're getting to the point where we're starting to talk about what our retirement looks like and what our goals and ambitions are. And I've said my entire life, my goal is to retire to New Orleans, Louisiana. As my hometown, it is the best city on the face of planet Earth. My goal is to retire to New Orleans, Louisiana. That's where I want to end up. No matter how it happens, that's where I want to be. And her retirement, her ideal retirement is beach house. Not particular beach, just beach house. I want a beach house. I want a beach house with a big glass back that looks out over an ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic, the Pacific. I don't care. I want a beach house with a big glass window. That is decorated in dark leathers. Like, great, we're going to have 2 houses, one in New Orleans, one on the beach. And so to get ourselves inspired by that.
Do you need dark leathers at that particular beach? So if you're at a different beach, would you go with lighter leathers?
I would. Like, if I'm down on it, I think it depends on the beach. If you're on like a Caribbean beach, like Gulf of Mexico, Florida coast down to Mexico, down in the Caribbean, because I also told her, like, I would not hate having a house somewhere in, like, you know, the Dominican or something, like somewhere in the Caribbean. If you're down there in the Caribbean or on the Gulf of Mexico, pastels, light colors, vibrant, beachy, Jimmy Buffett life. If you are somewhere, I think, on the Atlantic seaboard, right? Like if we're up, Charleston is on the table. If we're up somewhere up a little bit further north, like New England Beach, I think you probably a little more dark leather. I think if you're out in the California, if you're out on the Pacific coast, I think it's much more like vibrant, sunshiny on the outside. But at the end of the day, Mama tells me she wants to retire on the beach. She can pay the house however the hell she wants. I don't care. Just put me on a beach and I'll be happy. All right. So we're big on the beachfront reno right now. And that is why the majority. You want to know why I've told you, great one, although it didn't happen last night because I was super into baseball last night, that your boy dating back to Saturday night has been in bed no later than 9 p.m. every week. It's because the wife got me comfy jammies. So we watch our old people show. We watch our beachfront budget renovation show in the comfy jammies. I drink a little chamomile tea, and we call it a night. I'm 100. I've embraced it. What do you want? All right, we got a big show lined up today. A lot we got to get to. We are going to talk a little more college football as we inch ever closer to the beginning of the 2025 college football season. We went yesterday into great debate about the AP preseason top 25. Today, we are going to start with teams 1, 2, and 3. The University of Texas, the Nittany Lions of Pennsylvania State University, and the Buckeyes of Ohio State. Sorry, the Ohio State University.
Don't try to be nice to me because you know I'm mad. It does. I mean, don't do that. It's a normal day for you, okay? It's just not for me, so that's fine.
Are you accusing me of pandering?
Yes, I am.
Yes, I am. We are going to discuss. I
will not take my ire out on you.
Thanks. I prefer you don't.
I'll wait till someone else comes back in the room.
I'll make sure I leave the room. All right. We are going to take a look at our top 3 teams on the AP preseason top 25 poll. I have decided that for the top 20-ish teams, I'm going to come up with 3 big questions. The 3 questions that those teams must answer if they do indeed wish to win the 2025-26 College Football National Championship. Let's start with Texas. I got my 3 big questions for the Longhorns. Then we'll ask them about the Nittany Lions. Then we'll ask them about the Buckeyes teams 1, 2, and 3, and I'll get your thoughts on all of them. If I had to ask you to bet a paycheck, who has a better year at the end of the year? Defined however you wish to define it subjectively. Paycheck on the line. Who has a better year, Cade Klubnik or Lenora Sellers? We're going to talk about that later on in the show. And we'll talk a little NFL preseason week 2 on tap. Zoe and I off tomorrow and Friday. So we are hitting it hard today on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Friday on a Wednesday. The Great One and I are off for the next couple of days. And because of that, we're treating today as if it is a Friday. Now, I would like to ever so briefly talk a little college football. And by ever so briefly, I mean like most of the next 4 hours, we are going to talk college football. But I started a little series yesterday on social media that I am going to continue to do all the way up to the kickoff of the college football season. I'm going to do one or two of these a day until we get football underway. I'm calling it 3 big questions. Effectively, I am going to look at the top 15, 20, I don't know how many I'm going to do yet. Basically, any team that I think might actually be good enough to be a college football playoff participant. Maybe not necessarily be I believe they can win the college football playoffs, but can definitely backdoor their way in at the very worst. And I'm going to ask 3 big questions that I think that those teams must answer if they wish to participate in the 2025 college football playoff. Now, the number 1 team in the country, according to the AP preseason top 25, are the Texas Longhorns. So I thought to myself, what are the big 3 questions that Texas has to answer if they do indeed wish to become the 2025-26 college football national champions? And here is what I came up with. This is the audio from the video I posted yesterday across our social media at The Fan Upstate and across my social media at The Rob Brown Show. Here are the 3 big questions that the University of Texas must answer. Start talking me. Oh, here we go. Sure, why not? You know, it's just when you want things to work, things don't work. Let me try that one more time. Here are the 3 big questions that must be answered by Texas. And of course, we're off to a rousing start today.
Hey, but at least you got the audio to play over there. It wasn't playing over there earlier. So now just one more button and then you could probably get it back over here.
Goodness gracious. What are we doing? Ladies and gentlemen, here are the big 3 burning questions for Texas. Question mark.
I am not saying that Arch Manning is not football Jesus. I'm saying we don't know yet, and therefore I shan't be a spreader of the gospel of Arch just yet. Spurrier caught hate for asking, if Arch is that good, why did he not take Quinn Ewers' job? I thought it was a fair question. Was one off season enough to go from he can't beat out Quinn Ewers to the greatest quarterback ever? Then there's Steve Sarkisian, genius. Yes, offensive guru, no doubt, but can he finally win a big close game? Lost to Washington in 23 because Michael Penix Jr. was otherworldly, outcoached himself against Ohio State last year, including what might have been the worst single play call I've ever seen from a coach. I did not expect to see it from. Texas lost 8 starters, but they did hit the portal well. Will they be able to rebuild the chemistry of an offense that averaged 33 a game? 3 questions. Is Arch the real deal? Can Sark not overthink it? And can you replace NFL talent instantly? If it is yes to all 3, Texas is absolutely a national championship winner.
So there you go. There's the big 3 questions that I have for the Longhorns. Numero uno. Is Arch Manning indeed the dude that the folks at Texas want us to believe that he is? Question number 2. And this is the one that when we talked about it at SEC Media Days, I got the most pushback on. But I also think it's a fair question, and I think the question stands. Can Steve Sarkisian not blow it? I don't really know how else to phrase that. It sounds awful, considering we are talking about a guy who has made a deep playoff run now in back-to-back years. But I would also say in back-to-back years, Texas was disappointed with the results. Washington went on after eliminating Texas. Washington went on to get the doors blown off in the Natty. And then last year, of course, took the L without making it to the championship game, despite aspirations from Texas fans to be in that championship game. But they end up losing to, in fairness, your eventual national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes. And I would even go so far as to say, it's not that you lost to Ohio State. Ohio State was a damn good football team last year. It's not that you lost to the Buckeyes last year. It is how you lost to the Buckeyes last year. It is the fact that last year in that game, you were in a game until you weren't, but when it came down to crunch time, Texas got the ball. They're down 7. They are well inside of Bucknut territory. And all of the sudden, the offensive guru that is Steve Sarkisian is running plays that don't just not make sense, but he's running plays that, to me, were antithetical to what got Texas there in the first place. And I know we've kind of hammered on that end-around stretch run that the Buckeyes stuffed, and it took Texas from, what was it, 2nd and goal inside the 5 to 3rd and goal at like the 8, and it effectively forced them to try to do something outside of the box on the next play. But I would also point out that you had the 1st and goal call, because also on that drive, which I watched yesterday, there were either 2 or 3 Ohio State penalties that got you in position. Like, Ohio State was trying to give you the touchdown to tie the game. They had a pass interference penalty on a long bomb that got you into the red zone. They had another, I think it was a defensive holding. I don't remember off the top of my head. It was yesterday, a very long time ago. But I believe a defensive holding penalty that got you down into the red zone. There was another penalty down there that set you up on that 1st and goal to go from the 4. And then what do you do with 1st and goal from the 4? You run like a speed receiver on a corner route for a jump ball. That's not there. You run an end around when you're a power run team and have been all year. You try to run an end around against BT Dubs, arguably the best linebacking core in the college football playoffs. You decided, we think we can stretch laterally a defense that is known for its ability to prevent teams from stretching laterally. That's kind of what they did defensively. And you run into the teeth of that. It cost you a bunch of yards. And then the very next play, you decide to roll out your quarterback on a pass play, and not just roll him out, but like to his weak hand side. What happens? You end up with the fumble. I forget the cat's name, but the linebacker picks it up and goes 80 some odd yards back to the crib the other way. Buckeyes go from 21-14 up.
Captain Jack, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Captain Jack. That's exactly who it was. You end up going from 1st and goal to go inside the 4, down 7, to now 2.5 minutes left to play and you're down 14. Ball game at that point. That's kind of what I'm driving at and talking about here. Why, in that moment, in the biggest game of the year, why did you suddenly decide that all of the things that you did to get you here, as in to the playoffs, to get you here as in to that to that playoff game, to get you here as in to that series, to get you here as in to the red zone, all the things that you did to get you to a spot where you are goal to go inside the 5 with an opportunity to tie the game up and maybe not win it, but at least have it tied with a few to go. Make Ohio State play hero ball. And instead, you clinch up and you call effectively 3 plays that were absolutely not in your wheelhouse. I understand, because I can already hear the text being typed out across America saying Rob Brown, hindsight's 2020. it's real easy to say it was the wrong play call 6 months later from your chair in the studio. I said it that night, man. Said it that night. What are we doing here? You would have been better served in that moment. You would have been better served if you're going to do that to just bring Arch Manning in off the bench and go QB power 4 times in a row.
If he were good enough.
Well, I mean, the one thing I can say about Arch last year is the Cats got gas in the legs. We'll see what he does as a full-time QB1. But one of the things that Texas did very well was the QB power with Arch. Throw him in there, get everybody dropping off on some verts to the outside, and then just let Arch run the ball up the butt crack of the guard, and let's see what we do with it. It was like a shotgun Philly shove. And you just do that 4 times. That would have been a better set of play call than what you ended up with. So that's why question number 2 is, we have talked about Mario Cristobal. Hell, I'm out on Miami as a playoff team this year because of Mario Cristobal. We have talked about James Franklin, big game James, when we do the Penn State Nittany Lions coming up here in a few minutes. And I ask my big 3 questions about Penn State. One of them, shockingly, is not, but also totally is big game James capable of getting it done this year, right? The narrative is the narrative for the reason. Let's get the big one out of the way initially. Is James Franklin capable of coaching the way that he needs to coach and coaching the boys the way the boys need to be coached in order to win a championship? I'm going to have the same question about Sarkisian. Sarkisian is a dude that just about everywhere he's gone as a head coach, because he's had some very successful years as an offensive coordinator, including in Alabama, by the way. He was the HC for Saban for a couple of years, and they were very good offensively when he was there. But as an HC, there's been a few spots where it feels like the game kind of got away from him a little bit. It feels like the game kind of got a little big for him, and that game against Ohio State last year was one of them. That game against Washington the year before that was one of them. So I think it is very fair to ask the question, do we trust Steve Sarkisian? And then the one that I don't feel like we need to spend a ton of time on, but you lost 8 starters from last year's offense. You averaged 33 a game last year, but you lost 8 starters, including an NFL wide receiver, a couple of NFL linemen. Like, can you just click the next guys in place and be ready to roll? If the answer to that is no, if the answer to any of those 3 is no, if Arch ain't the real deal, if Steve can't not panic, and if you can't replace all that talent, then no, Texas will be a disappointment this year. All right, so there's my big 3 questions about the Longhorns. If we got a Texas fan out there, you can answer them. If you're a non-Texas guy, but you have thoughts on the Horns, 844-326-3663 is the number, 844-FANFONE. Coming up later in the show, we'll do Penn State and Ohio State, the top 3 teams in college football. When we return from vacation on Monday, we'll go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, South Carolina, and see where we go after that. I'm Rob Alonzo. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. Y'all, this is the Fan Upstate.
This is Ross Kruth, the driver of the 71HendrickCars.com Chevy Silverado in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and you're listening to the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. Clemson football opens the season at home August the 30th. They'll take on LSU. Some changes in store at Memorial Stadium. This will be the first full football season that Clemson serves alcohol. There will also be a designated driver program. Concession transactions will be cashless. Meanwhile, gathering at the Paw could cause the university to be fined up to $200,000 if fans rush the field before the visiting team exits. Fans are going to be asked to enter the field through the hill and the west stands after the alma mater faces.
The Rob Brown Show live on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me is the Wizard of Wave, the maestro of not music, probably music if he wanted to be, but I don't know. I need a M word there because I really like maestro.
You don't need to do all that. I'm good. Okay. This is, a setup that had been very effective and very efficient for 11, 12 years since this baby got off the ground. And now it's all been lessened and moved to a different, it's going to take some adjustment. And some things are going to fall through the cracks. Some things that otherwise
metaphorically.
Well, maybe. So some things that we were able to operate efficiently in a way, and now some things have been taken away, and it's going to make things a little more difficult. And I'm adjusting. Some things that I was told would be taken care of or not taken care of, and so just.
Lonzo's got a new setup over on the other side of the board.
Oh no, it's not a new. It's a worse setup. And if you were over here, you would think the same thing. But I'm an old man who doesn't like change. That is my moniker. That's what people say about me. But new people don't like change either. So it's just ridiculous. But we're making it work. We are adjusting. We're doing what we can. But
that's all you can do.
Some of the things that's quick trigger that we do back and forth and stuff like that. Some of that's going to be limited for a while and maybe gone forever. Because of the setup.
Tap the sign, play like a champion today. That's what we're doing. All right. This day, every day. Not tomorrow on Friday, though. We will not play like a champion tomorrow.
Yeah, right. So
Friday.
that's on the horizon, it's a good time.
All right. We got a lot we're getting to. I have asked.
By the way, really quick, no one knows who Arch Manning is. This is so much hype for a guy just because of his last name. If his name was Arch Johnson, Texas would not be ranked right now. It's because of his name, because of expectations, because what they were able to do last year with a different quarterback that they're ranked so high. It's preseason. They could lose the first game and a couple more and be done. It's very possible. It all hinges on one guy, and the hype is there because of his last name.
It would be, I think, foolish and incorrect to say that the last name doesn't play into it, because when you talk about Arch Manning, the conversation always involves the word pedigree. It always involves the word mentors. It always involves the word family. It always involves the Mannings. And I think it would be somewhat foolish not to consider that a benefit to Arch Manning, having the ability to lean on Archie, to lean on Peyton, to lean on Eli, to lean on Cooper, who in all rights and accords, and I think Peyton has said this at one point, Cooper Manning might have been the best quarterback of all of them. It just had some health issues that prevented him from having the opportunity. But Peyton has said a couple of times, Cooper might have been the best quarterback out of all of them, saw the football field as well, if not better than anybody. And so, yes, having that last name, or more importantly, having the relatives that share that last name, that's a boon. That's a huge advantage. I've made a couple of times the Nepo baby joke about Arch Manning, and I don't consider Arch, but just so we're clear, it's a joke. I don't think Arch is like a Nepo baby. At the end of the day, there have been the kids of some pretty prominent football players who were just not very good, and they don't get elevated into a starting role at a Power 5 Southeastern Conference university just because they share the last name with a Hall of Famer or three. So it is absolutely a boon. That does not mean that he will succeed. And I think what has kind of been the big talking point for me has been Arch Manning himself at SEC Media Days. I've told this story a couple of times. He came in, he was doing his little player breakout interviews in the downstairs portion. I went down there to listen to what Arch had to say. And a reporter asked him the question, how do you feel about the hype that has been heaped upon you? How do you feel about being discussed going into your first year as QB1 for Tejas? How do you feel about the Heisman hype, about the Arch will lead us to an SEC title and a national championship hype? And Arch asked a question that I genuinely threw out on a couple of different pods and radio shows that I did live at Digital Drive, as it was affectionately known there. I said this on a few different shows that I was brought on and asked to, have conversations about South Carolina, but also to talk about the SEC at large. And with just about every one of them, I asked them on their own show, are you in on the Arch hype and why? And I made the point to all of them that, do you know who is the loudest voice saying maybe we should hold our horses? It's Arch Manning. It's Arch. He's the one. He, in that interview, said, guys, I have started 2 games, and I will agree with the great one, Lonzo, on one aspect of what he said so far. Well, on every aspect, but the one that is prominent to me is, if Arch has started 2 games and his last name wasn't Manning, and again, I think the reason the name Manning is important isn't just because it comes with hype. I think the name Manning is important because after games, he gets to sit down and watch game film with Peyton Manning. He gets to sit down and watch game film with Eli Manning. He gets to sit down and watch game film with Archie Manning, a guy, and I've said this, and I know it comes across as a homer, but as somebody who has watched all the tape from back before I was even alive, back before I was a glimmer in my father's eye, I've watched the old Archie tape. If Archie Manning wasn't a New Orleans Saint in the 60s, if Archie Manning was a Giant or a Bear or a Packer, I mean it when I tell you, Archie Manning would be in the Hall of Fame. Honestly, if he played on a team that wasn't my franchise's early growing pain years, Archie would have been counted in the discussion of the all-time GOATs. That's how good that guy was. And he's a boon to Arch. But Arch has started 2 games. He's played more than that, but he did a lot of spot duty, right? That was kind of one of the points that I will make about Ohio State coming up here in a little while, because we're going to do Penn State in the next hour. We'll do Ohio State's 3 big questions in hour 3. Spoiler alert. When it comes to Ohio State, one of the things I'm going to ask about is if Julian Sayin has some early season growing pains, which it would be understandable if he does. Julian Sayin has 12 career passing attempts in college. And that's not to say that's indicative of growing pains. You know how many passing attempts CJ Stroud had as a Buckeye before he got his start as QB1 in week 1? 0. Not a nail, 9, none. And he did just fine for Ohio State. So I'm not saying that is going to be the reason that he can't be the guy. But one of the takes on Ohio State was, if you have a young quarterback with pressure heaped on him, like there will be for the guy I assume is Ohio State's QB1 in week 1, Julian Sayin, a run game is how you bail him out. A run game is how you keep him safe. A run game that makes a defense stay honest and committed to the run is a question mark. Now, Ohio State's got some dudes in the running back field. Julian Peoples is coming back. He has got a ton of experience last year, played in 8 games last year, had a couple of minor injuries that limited his ability to really take over. But he's a name you got to keep him back on. Excuse me, I said James Peoples. CJ Donaldson is the other running back for Ohio State. CJ Donaldson transfers over from West Virginia. All he's done is average 10 touchdowns a year on the ground for the Mountaineers over the past 3 years. Now, that does not mean that is going to translate into success in a conference that is known for having some big-ass corn-fed boys across defensive lines. But the question mark's the offensive line. Ohio State is bringing back, if I recall correctly, one starter across the offensive line. And the guys who are going to be asked to fill in for NFL talent across the offensive line for the Buckeyes are guys that played at the best spot duty last year. So you can have two electrifying running backs back there. But if you don't have guys against Iowa State, Penn State, etc., that can control the line of scrimmage, it doesn't matter. And if your run game's not a threat, Julian Sain's going to get hammered. And not in the fun frat party way, in the bad football way. So, circling back around to Arch Manning, that is kind of part of the reason that question 3 for the Horns was, when you lose guys like Matthew Golden, who goes to the Packers, and the Packers are losing their gosh darn mind over this kid because he looks like a breakout impact rookie already, and we've played one preseason game. Can you replace that? You got the Andre Moore Jr. coming back at the wide receiver spot. Outside of that, guys who were reservist, role players, spot guys at 8 different spots across your offense this year. And guided by a guy who has 2 career starts and a bunch of spot duty at QB. Yes, he's a Manning. Yes, that name matters. It matters because of the resources that are attached to it. That Dante Moore doesn't have Peyton Manning watching his game film. Lenora Sellers doesn't have Dante Moore, doesn't have Eli Manning watching the game film. Kay Klubnik doesn't have Archie Manning watching the game film. It is an asset. But I do think that people are, as Lonzo said, I think people are looking at that and getting hyped about the Manning last name for the wrong reason. I think they look at the Manning last name and are just working under the assumption that carrying that last name makes you an NFL Hall of Fame caliber guy, because Peyton is one and Eli is one, and had Archie played his football anywhere else, Archie would have been one. That's not a guarantee. It's certainly a great start. The reason to get hyped about Arch's last name is not because he is guaranteed a damn thing. The reason to get hyped about Arch's last name is the resources. But at the same time, while it is absolutely, I think, fair to ask those questions, the 2 things that will impact Arch Manning the most. Number 1, his head coach, Steve Sarkisian, who I've already made the I've already made the head coach question one of my big 3 for Texas. I go back to the Washington game. Yes, Michael Penix Jr. played Heisman caliber football that night against Texas, but it's not exactly, and Kalen DeBoer was the head coach. Remember, Kalen DeBoer is a damn good coach. It ain't exactly like, outside of Michael Penix Jr., Roma Dunze, and a couple of other dudes, like on paper, Texas had more talent. But Steve Sarkisian got out-coached by Kalen DeBoer, and Michael Penix Jr. was a legend that night. Steve Sarkisian still made mistakes. And against the Buckeyes last year, I thought that was a pretty even wash in terms of talent. But in the clutch, last drive, biggest moment, opportunity to tie the game and make Ohio State go play hero ball to win it. Steve Sarkisian, who, whether he was calling the plays or not, was ultimately in charge of what was happening, is running into the teeth of the best part of the Buckeyes defense multiple times in a row. What are we doing? And if those things can't get answered, it doesn't matter if Arch is the second coming of Tim Tebow himself. It ain't getting done. All right, we will do the same 3 big questions about Penn State in the next hour, Ohio State in the third. As it is Friday on a Wednesday, the 4th hour belongs to you, the Armada. The Rob Brown Show continues after the best 60 seconds of your morning, Lonzo Sports Flash.
And I did not get to proofread, so we're going to find out what happens.
Let's go.
The Atlanta Braves got hammered by the New York Mets in the opening game of a 3-game road set. Falling 13-5, Spencer Strider took his 10th loss of the season, giving up 8 hits and 8 runs in 4 innings, including 3 home runs. Atlanta had 8 hits, including doubles from Matt Olson and Nacho Alvarez Jr., but I'm not sure that's a real name. Just 2 of 11 with runners in scoring position. Game 2 is tonight at 7:10. Why are you still in the room? In the 13-5 win over the Braves, talking to Rob, Pete Alonso passed Darryl Strawberry as the all-time home run leader for the Mets. Alonso hits shots number. I did that on purpose. 253 of 254. And Packers quarterback Jordan Love underwent a last-minute surgery to repair an injured ligament in his non-throwing hand, but is expected to be ready for the season opener. Love wanted to play through the injury because that's what Love does.
Up to the minute. Winning. One more time, Charlie.
Oh, we found we've got it cranked all the way up. So this should be interesting. That's it. That's as loud as Charlie gets.
Winning.
That's not bad.
Winning.
Let's see.
Winning.
Yeah, he's hitting levels right.
Tiger blood.
Let's see about this.
If we got that one, we're good. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. The phone line, the text line, open for you. The Hub City Smart Burger text line, 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE. If you'd like to text the show, the same number. If you'd like to call the radio broadcast this AM, you can use 844-326-3663.
Tune in and see how many shades of purple my face can turn.
I think we're on over under 3.5, and we're on 2 already.
Blood pressure not doing well right now. It's not. I got to find. There's nothing that will calm me in this building. So I mean, Would
you like me to run you through a little self-guided meditation, or medication at the break? I guess really either one would probably be acceptable.
We get up at the wee hours of meditation will put me to sleep, and you will not wake me up. So no, I'm. Oh, trust me, it would be hard for me to go to sleep. Meditation ain't gonna work. That's gonna work. It's okay. This is how I get myself prepared for new stuff.
We don't get hype. We stay hype. I am the hype. Yes, indeed. Join us on our live stream, facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, The Fan Upstate on YouTube, The Fan Upstate on Twitter. You can do the same with the Rob Brown Show at Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. As we have mentioned a couple of times, and will a few more, the great one and I off tomorrow and Friday. Your boy is getting in one last baby vacay before football season starts up next week, kids. Like it is upon us at this point. We got football, actual football that counts, that matters, just around the corner. So one last little baby vacay. The lady and I headed on over to Chucktown, USA. Coming up this weekend. We'll be leaving today.
What he meant to say was one more vacation this month. That's what he meant. I mean,
it is most likely.
You still got more days, and then we got Thanksgiving, and we got Christmas. So there's still more vacations coming up.
One more before football season gets in earnest, because I will. I do not usually, in fact, I don't think I have since I got here. I usually don't take a vacation in the meat and taters of the football season. Like I will take one right before we start, and then I will take one as the season is rounding out, and that's usually because.
Except for last year.
Did I take one?
Dude.
Meat and taters last year? No, that didn't count. That wasn't a vacation. I promise you that wasn't a vacation.
Okay, whatever. It was still time off.
It was time off. Yeah. But I feel like that one was not just, hey guys, I'm going to Charleston to get blasted on the beach for a few days. See you Monday. That one was like, that was work. All right. Straight up, absolute work. Worth it, but work. However, we're getting the last mini vacay out of the way this weekend before we come back Monday. And when we get back Monday, I mean, it's really football season. Like we started saying it's football season 4 weeks ago at SEC Media Days. Then we said, it's really football season 3 weeks ago when we were at ACC Media Days. Then we said, it's really football season last week when the NFL preseason got fired up. Then we said yesterday, now it's really, really football season because our AP preseason top 25 poll dropped. When we come back next week, it's like really, really football season because when we come back on the 18th, we will have just a couple of days until we get football underway. 5 matchups on Saturday, August 23rd, including that Saturday afternoon at noon. We have got a 12 p.m. noon kickoff on ESPN, and it is a top 25 game right out of the gate. Avery Johnson and his Kansas State Wildcats taking on Iowa State. Ladies and gentlemen, that game number 1 on that Saturday is massively important. And it's massively important because we've talked about aspirations. We've talked about goals. We've talked about entering the season with some, let's say it again, hype. Avery Johnson and the Wildcats believe they are the team to win the Big 12. They believe they are the team that is headed to the college football playoffs representing that conference. By the way, real quick, as a quick aside, and we'll come back to this later on, I was on BetMGM Tonight last Friday. We were talking with myself and Ryan Horvat, who's my college football buddy on the show. We were having the conversation about the Big 12.
Buddy, deep.
You ready?
Shouldn't take me that long to hit it.
Buddy, you ready for my hot take? I think the Big 12 gets one team into the playoff. I think their champ goes, and I don't know if there's another Big 12 team that's going to get in.
How's that any different than the ACC? I know the ACC got 2 last year, and I know you were up on the ACC. It wouldn't shock me if they only got 1 also.
Hot take, ACC's getting 2 minimum. I think they might get 3. I think they might get 3. I think they might get 3. Yep. I think they might get 3. Clemson's in. I feel like we're all pretty comfortable Clemson's in. I am going to say that I've got a rematch in the ACC title game between Clemson and SMU. I think SMU is in, and then it really is going to come down to, does Mario Cristobal blow it in another dumb game like the Georgia Tech game? Because they don't lose that Tech game last year. Miami's the 3rd playoff team last year out of the ACC. I think they nudged their way in. Or is Miller Moss everything that USC wanted him to be, and that Louisville is going to pay him big dollar bills, y'all, to be? If the answer to those questions are yes, one of those 2 teams goes, the ACC gets 3 in this year. I also think the SEC is getting 6 in this year. 5 is the minimum. I think they might get 6. We're going to talk about that. A lot of preseason hot takes and prognostications as we get ever closer to next Saturday when college football gets kicked off. Kyle pops into the live chat, says, listening to you on the radio on 97.1 FM. Hope to hear a breakdown of all those top 25 teams, open games. Kyle, you will. We're doing today, and we'll pick this up in the next segment of the show, 3 big questions for our top 3 teams: Texas, Penn State, Ohio State. And then when we come back on Monday, we'll keep doing 3 big questions for the remainder of the teams. Joey B said, now I'm going to call Going to the Bar with the Boys group guided medication. I accept and I shall join you.
Wait, you didn't already call it that? I mean, I just wow.
I
would like to although if you want to say that you made it up, I mean, I guess
I'm sure I didn't.
You want to take creative license, but go right ahead.
I'm sure I didn't. I will say that I have regularly referred to bourbon and cigar night with the fellas as my therapy sessions. That's for sure. I mean, I go to actual therapy, but I also go to group therapy at the bar. It's true.
His actual therapy has a lot to do with me. Hesitation.
Water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia?
No, I'm good now. Thanks.
Well, you better be.
Also, I turned my mic back on.
Did
you know that?
3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
You hear that?
even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go.
Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Tis indeed the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office this morning and start talking sports with your coworkers or your boss or whoever it is that you enjoy talking your sports with. When you do, this is what you'll be talking about. Let's dive right into item number 1. Obviously, a lot of NFL stories are breaking right now as we head into preseason week number 2. There's just one more preseason week. Then we got a week. Then we talk and start NFL football. So, especially for those of you that are in the midst of your fantasy football draft season. And while Rob Brown does not play fantasy football, mainly because An unhealthy amount of competitive juice combined with an absolutely unhinged level of obsessive compulsive means Rob Brown ends up pouring more hours into setting fantasy football lineups than it does his job. However, we will take your fantasy football questions here on the show. You got fantasy football questions, whether it's about a draft, whether it's a sit 'em, start 'em, bench 'em throughout the course of the year. I'm your guy. Bring it to me. Let's do the darn thing. But here's some NFL stories that we will rapid fire run through in item number one. Jordan Love had surgery, the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, yesterday to repair a ligament to his non-throwing hand, left thumb. The Green Bay Packers expect the QB to be ready, however, for the season opener. Love had his left thumb taped during Monday's practice, tried to play through the injury, but ultimately, after a discussion with the team, it was decided that Love would go ahead and get the procedure because, as Brian Gutekunst, the general manager for the Green Bay Packers said, quote, surgery was the best option to getting back the fastest and feeling the best. Love suffered the injury during Saturday's preseason opener against the Jets. It happened on the last play when he was sacked by Jay Tafili. Love played 2 series in that game. He did not appear to be limited in practice Monday, but had to use his right throwing hand to hand off on plays where ordinarily he would have used the left. Turns out, the non-throwing hand still relatively important to quarterbacks. Over to the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings wide receiver and punt return specialist Rondale Moore suffered a season-ending left knee injury in Saturday's preseason game against the Texans. The team confirmed that yesterday after reviewing MRI results. The news means that Moore will miss a full season for the second consecutive year as he was placed on season-ending injured reserve yesterday. Moore was a second-round draft pick by the Arizona Cardinals back in 2021, missed 9 games in 2022 with a variety of injuries, then all of last year after suffering a 2024 dislocated right knee while in training camp with the Falcons. Signed a 1-year contract with the Vikings this offseason, was in line to be the team's number 1 punt returner and potential number 4 wide receiver, but now will miss the year. Tyrod Taylor is now a question mark for the New York Jets should they need a spell for Justin Fields. Will miss the remainder of the preseason after undergoing arthroscopic knee surgery to correct an ailment that has sidelined him more than a week. Aaron Glenn called it a, quote, minor scope, end quote, but could not say that Taylor would be ready for the opener against the Steelers on September 7th. And very quickly,
watch out for those needles. Be careful.
Dude, listen. I know there's a lot of you out there that have floated a ton of conspiracy theories about medical healthcare professionals and all that. There is one person and one person alone that I excuse for conspiracy theories about the medical industry, and that is Tyrod Taylor. He's the only guy that I'm going to be like, I get it, Tyrod. I feel you, dog. I really do.
Like, you know what? Maybe we don't need surgery. Yeah. Maybe it'll just heal on its own.
Hey, Doc, any needles involved with that surgery? Yes, I'm out. And James Cook returned to practice amidst contract disputes with the Buffalo Bills. Did appear to at least pause the hold in that he is having. He was in uniform and fully participated in the practice. Let's get to item number 2. A controversy.
It just sounds sick, doesn't it? It just doesn't sound right.
The water cooler is, we moved it.
Yeah,
we had it against that one wall.
Yeah, now it's over. It's over in the corner. Yeah, and it just doesn't. Okay.
When people come in and they fidget with the stuff in the room, it just changes the vibe.
It does.
Changes the feng shui, if you will. Okay, so item number 2. Oklahoma starting quarterback John Mateer got embroiled in some controversy a few days ago as a reporter doing what reporters do, decided to go through the Venmo transaction history of quarterback John Mateer, the new QB1 for the Oklahoma Boomer Sooners. And in the Venmo transaction history of now Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer, a number of transactions were found that were labeled sports gambling, as well as payouts for results of certain games. Well, yesterday, Mateer fired back a response. He denied that he's ever been involved with sports gambling, saying that it was instead, quote, inside jokes with his friends. School officials were made aware of the screenshots late Monday night and have allegedly opened an investigation into the situation, but Mateer vehemently denies the allegations, said, quote, the allegations that I once participated in sports gambling are false. My previous Venmo
descriptions did not accurately portray the transactions in question, but were instead inside jokes between me and my friends. I have never been on sports. I understand the seriousness of that matter, but recognize that, taken out of context, those Venmo descriptions suggest otherwise. I can assure my teammates, coaches, and officials at the NCAA that I have not engaged in any sports gambling.
That was well written. What's his major?
Probably lean on the team PR guy for assistance. Or, and this is something I'm struggling with, a lot of people are writing everything that they write via like ChatGPT now. And it's always my favorite thing when people that you've read their tweets or their statements for a long time and you read something and it's like really perfect. And you're like, no, dude, you're a dumbass. I know you. I've read your stuff before. You're not that smart. You AI'd that, my guy. Come on now. I'm not saying Mateer did that. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm sure that he did have help of the human variety in pulling this together. Listen, this is just something that we're going to have to address on a situation-by-situation basis moving forward. John Mateer is an adult. Adult sports gamble. It's just a thing that is there. It is going to effectively come down to, you know what the rules and regulations are as far as gambling when you are an athlete participating in a league, in a team organized professional or amateur professional environment. If John Mateer did it and he was not a college football quarterback, honestly, I don't really care. But if he did it while he was a quarterback, and it is drawn back to him doing it while he's a quarterback, and it is proven specifically that he gambled on college football, well, I go back to the old catchphrase I've been leaning on for the past 2 or 3 years now. With adult opportunity comes adult consequences. If you have adult opportunity to profit, then there are adult responsibilities that come along with that. Bring the band hammer down. That would suck. Could you imagine if that was Brent Venables? You get a letter like 2 days before the start of the day. Hey, we did an investigation. We found out Mateer gambled on college football, so he can't play no more. Oof, woof. We'll see how that plays out. Finally and quickly, item number 3. I'm not gonna lie, kind of a quiet sports news last night. So I'm just gonna make the fact that the Braves got their asses kicked by the Mets 13-5 last night the third item on the water cooler cheat sheet for 2 reasons. Number 1, Spencer Strider, now 5-10, had one of his worst outings of the 2025 campaign. One of those outings that if he was 10-5, you'd go, bad night, bounce back, will be okay. He's 5-10. 4 innings, 8 hits, 8 runs, all earned, K'd 2, and gave up not 1, not 2, but 3 fat dongs to the New York Mets last night, including a pair of them from Pete Alonso. Alonso went yag twice last night, once off of Strider, once off of Austin Cox. Good for the all-time New York Mets home run mark. He passed Darryl Strawberry with his first shot last night. He added a second one to increase the lead later on in the game. The Atlanta Braves had 8 hits on the night, but they went 2 of 11 with runners in scoring position. My big concern is if Spence, and I get why they're doing it, but if Spencer Strider is going to keep going out there, is going to keep starting games, and is going to keep taking L's like this. And again, last night was kind of on him. He stank. But if he's going to go out there and keep taking L's like this, there's a come a point where he Max Frieds his way up out of there. See ya. I'll follow Max up to New York. Or does there come a point where he holds it against Atlanta a little bit? And when it's time to open up contract negotiations to keep the probably outside of Chris Sale, though who knows what the hell he's going to be when he comes back. He did get his rehab start with Gwinnett last night. We'll check in on that later on. But when it's time to sign, probably then your only ace. Does he look and he go, hey, remember you when you guys were trotting me out when I was 5-10 on a crap-ass baseball team to go get hammered by the Mets? I would like a few extra $1 million as compensation for that, please, and thank you. We'll see how that plays out. When we come back, got a couple of college football stories. Last segment of this hour, we will ask the question. What's the big 3 questions for the Penn State Nittany Lions that they have to answer to be national champions? At 8 o'clock, a very special guest in studio joining us today. Oh, you'll just have to wait with great anticipation to find out who it is.
Yeah, is that a good idea?
We'll find out. The Rob Brown Show's on the radio. It's the Fan Upstate.
Fan Upstate.
season. And subjectively, what that means, obviously, is up to you. Does that mean goes further towards a national championship? Does that mean is a conference winner? Does that not matter because of the fact that they are in different conferences and it is hard to compare and contrast? Does that mean statistically in the pass game? Does that mean statistically in the run game? However you want to define subjective success. If I was to ask you, bet a paycheck right now, and honestly, as much as I am dialing this question into Clemson fans and South Carolina fans, you know who I'd really like feedback from? Those of you who are fans of other teams. Those of you that are Buckeye fans, Longhorn fans, Seminole fans, Gator fans, other Tiger fans, whatever. I would like y'all's thoughts on this. I would like people who maybe don't have a Gamecock or a Tiger in this dogfight to answer this question as well. But for those of you that are fans of those two schools, take your fan cap off for a second and let's genuinely use this as an opportunity for all of us to maybe look at the 2025 Clemson Tigers, the 2025 South Carolina Gamecocks through a bit of a different lens. Game check on the line, paycheck on the line. And call your shot as far as how you are measuring the definition of the word of success here. Paycheck on the line. Who is going to have a more successful year as QB1 for their school? Is it Cade Klubnik at Clemson, or is it Lenoris Sellers at South Carolina? Which of those dudes is going to have a more successful year? And it may very well depend on if you're going to do it by an individual metric, right? It is just statistically more likely, though certainly not guaranteed. It is statistically more likely that Clemson is going to go further than South Carolina towards a national championship. Statistically, easier schedule, easier conference, on paper, better overall football team. It's just more likely that they're going to go further. And I think it could be argued that if Clemson was to get busted out in the first round and South Carolina was to make it into the first round, I would argue that's probably about equal levels of success based on starting position and expectations. If we are talking about statistically, when it comes to the passing game, and I am talking about just standing in the pocket and delivering the football, I have to work on the assumption that it's going to be Cade Klubnik. He's got a better wide receiver room. He just does. That's just the objective reality. Better wide receiver room. Not what he's had the last couple of years, but this year, that's why Clemson started the AP preseason top 25 poll inside the top 5. Because the wide receiver room is what Cade Klubnik has been missing the last couple of years. Of course, they also have, I think, maybe the best front 7 on defense in college football this year, but that's a different argument for a different segment. I think in the pass game, I expect Cade Klubnik to have a better overall year than Lenoris Sellers. But we also know the absolute freak athlete that Lenoris Sellers is. I would not be shocked. And again, have to take into consideration the schedule, who they're playing against. We have hit it a number of times, and I got news for you. We'll hit it a few thousand more before the end of the year. South Carolina's back 7 weeks is probably the toughest 7-week stretch of anybody in college football. We have already said, for the South Carolina Gamecocks to hit their ceiling that Lonzo and I set, which if I recall correctly, I think we both said 10-2 was the ceiling.
Yes.
I think we both said 10-2 was the ceiling. If they're going to get to 10-2, they must be 5-0 to start the season. They must be 5-0. Assuming, though this may not be smart, assuming a win over Coastal down the stretch, which you're getting Myrtle Beach's finest. You're getting the best the Chanticleers can put on a football field and the best effort. That is a Super Bowl game for them.
Assuming a win over Chanticleers, that's 6. Now, out of those final 6 games, which includes the game against Clemson, which includes a revenge game against LSU, which includes a revenge game against Alabama, which includes I think, dramatically improved Oklahoma team, which includes a revenge game against Lane Kiffin, a.k.a. Joey Freshwater and the Ole Miss Running Rebels. And you got to go to the compound to take on the cult of Texas A&M, which Texas A&M is a team that I can tell you at SEC Media Days, a lot of people in love with the Aggies. And I got to tell you, as much as I give them hell for being a cult, because, and hear me out, here's my argument, they're a cult. As much as I give them hell for being a cult, I also love Mike Elko. I do. Mike Elko and Clark Lee are my 2 favorite coaches in the SEC right now. Just hands down, bona fide. They are my 2 favorite coaches. Elko is just a classic old school football coach. Gruff, gritty, blows the whistle all the time, gonna get on your ass. And I also believe Mike Elko's the old school gruff football coach that will go to war for the boys, not Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher was a Jimbo Fisher guy above all. And I saw that up close and personal when I was brought. Jimbo Fisher's a Jimbo Fisher guy. He's in business for himself. Mike Elko, I do not feel that way about. Love that guy. And I think that there is some element of Duke is a 9-win football team last year because Mike Elko brought a bunch of dudes there that are football dudes, and it fit. It worked. So I like A&M. And South Carolina and A&M, since the Ags entered the Southeastern Conference, you have traded home wins back and forth. I'm a gambling guy, and I will tell you that trends matter. And the trend is the team at home when South Carolina and Texas A&M play, the team at home wins. That's just what it's been. So if we go 5-0 out of the beginning gate, and we're looking at Virginia Tech, SC State, Vandy, Mizzou, and Kentucky, all of which you'll be favored in, and then we assume a coastal win, that's 6 wins right there. Now you've got to go find me 4 out of LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Clemson. And all 5 of those games are against preseason number 9, 18, 8, 21, 19, and 4. That's a tough stretch. So I think when we ask the question, and this is something I'm going to ask throughout the course of the show, Paycheck on the line, who are you betting to have a better year? And I'll let you define what better is. Deeper towards the national championship, better statistically in the pass game, the run game, all the numbers, whatever. Who has the better season, Cade Klubnik or Lenore Sellers? I would also make the argument, one of the considerations has to be, Lenore Sellers in the final 7 weeks is going to be up against 6 of the best defenses in football, back to back to back to back, coastal to back. And I think that's got to be factored in. So, Paycheck on the line, the better season, when we wrap up the football season this year, and we do our 2025 college football season post-mortem, we are going to open the mic that day and say, ladies and gentlemen, it is official and on the record, the better season between 2 guys that went to New York for the Heisman Trophy finalist celebration. I hope I got a bet on that to happen. Lenore Sellers had the better year. Cade Klubnik had the better year. Which one of those is going to be correct? We'll talk more about this coming up. However, in the next segment, we're asking big 3 questions about the big 3 teams, the top 3 teams in the AP preseason top 25. We do the Penn State Nittany Lions next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
The Furman Paladins host William and Mary to kick off the 2025 season on Saturday, August 30th. Airtime at 12:30 on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. The Braves got pounded 13-5 on the road at New York against the Mets. Pete Alonso homered twice. His first of the game broke the franchise record for the Mets. It was his 253rd homer, surpassing the mark held by Darryl Strawberry for 37 years. The Mets hit 6 homers in the game. They all came with 2 outs. Rick Baldwin had a run-scoring ground out in the first for the Braves. Nacho Alvarez Jr. hit a 2-run double. Jurickson Profar had a run come across on a fielder's choice, while Matt Olson had an RBI double in the 4th. The result snapped a lengthy losing skid for the Mets. They'd lost 7 straight. It's just their second win in the last 13. They're 5 games out behind the Phillies in the NL East. The Braves are 18 games behind in the division and 13 games out of a wild card. The series continues tonight. Righty Carlos Carrasco faces his former team.
Don't look at me like I'm ancient.
No, I'm not. I've never heard the word sallying forth.
All right. Text line. Have you ever heard of sallying forth?
I mean, I'm sure it's legitimate. I've never heard of it before, or I've never heard it used that way. How's that?
I believe it is an Army term. a military term. That's why I'm surprised that you didn't know it.
Never heard the term before. All right, we are asking, and this is a series that I have been doing on social media and will continue to do on social media. The 3 big questions. I am asking 3 big questions for each of the top contenders in college football. 3 big questions that will separate the real contenders from the pretenders when it is all said and done. I have discussed these at length from the standpoint of what do they have to do? What do they need to prove? What questions do they need to answer in order for me to believe that they genuinely are a national championship pick? We did the Texas Longhorns a little bit earlier in the radio program. The 3 questions that I had for them were, number 1, is Arch Manning indeed the real deal? The second question that I had for the Texas Longhorns, the second question was, can I trust Steve Sarkisian in a big game? Can I trust Steve Sarkisian in a big game? Is the answer to that is yes. I feel a lot better about where we are. And the third question is, with 8 starters leaving your program, with 8 starters heading to the NFL or graduation, my third question was, can you replace that talent organically? Can you replace that chemistry organically and not miss a beat from a team that was averaging 33 points a game last season? If the answers to those 3 questions are yes, Texas will 1,000% be in the mix. If the answer to any one of those 3 questions is no, Arch Manning, Steve Sarkisian, chemistry replacing talent. If the answer to any one of those 3 questions is no, then I think at that point we will have to say Texas comes up short of the goals. Number 2 in the AP preseason top 25 are the Penn State Nittany Lions. Here is the audio from my social media clip. You can follow me across social media, including on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at The Rob Brown Show. Here are my big 3 questions for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State, let's get the obvious one out of the way. Can big game James Franklin finally win a big game? That's the narrative for a reason. But this year feels different. Even folks who usually bury Penn State, we're giving them love at ACC and SEC Media Days. So maybe. Then there's Drew Aller. Numbers, yes. But in big games, Ohio State, 12 of 20, 146, no touchdowns, and a pick in a loss. Big Ten title game versus Oregon, 20 of 39, 226, and 3 touchdowns, but 2 costly picks. Playoff game versus Notre Dame, 12 of 23, 135, and a pick. Until he does it in a big game, much like James Franklin, I'm not sold. I love the new weapons on offense. I love new offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki, but you lost 4 NFL draft picks from a top 10 defense. Your defensive coordinator, Tom Allen, is now at Clemson. Can you carry on back to where you were? So the questions for Penn State: can James Franklin kill the narrative? Can Drew Aller shine when it matters the most? And can the defense reload without missing a beat? If the answers are yes, maybe they finally get it done. So there you go, the 3 big questions. And again, we are going to be asking these about all of the teams that I believe are playoff contenders, not necessarily national championship contenders, but playoff contenders. The 3 big questions for Penn State. Question number 1, can big game James Franklin surpass the narrative that has been written about him over his years with Penn State? Question number 2, can Drew Aller show up and perform in the big games? And number 3, can the defensive consistency be relied on when you lost 4 NFL draft picks off of it, including Abdul Carter, one of the best defensive edge rushers in recent college football memory? You also lost, and again, if you're going to lose your defensive coordinator, not that there is a time that you want to lose a defensive coordinator from a top 10 college football defense as Penn State was last year, but if you're going to lose
a top 10 defensive coordinator, doing it in a year where you have got to reset the defense, not because you lost a ton of guys, but because the guys that you did lose are top tier talent, are NFL quality talent, as guys like Abdul Carter, who left Penn State, are. I mean, if you're going to lose a defense coordinator for Penn State, this was a good year to do it with Tom Allen headed over to Clemson to take over after and by the way, I love that hire for Clemson. We've talked about that a bazillion times, but for a dude that was able to build, and not just build, but to successfully coach what Penn State had in their front seven last year, that's a good pickup. So, what are our answers to those three questions for Penn State? The first one is, unfortunately, one that can only be answered either when he does it or when he's out. That's it. Like, we can't know that James Franklin can defeat the narrative of, much like Steve Sarkisian at Texas that we just talked about, I don't know that I can trust Sark not to lose his play calling mind in a big game until he doesn't lose his mind in a big game. James Franklin. I don't know that I can trust big game James to get it right in a big game until they win a big game. But that also kind of hinges on to question number 2, which is about Drew Aller. The narrative of this college football season for me, 1,027%, is quarterbacks at the big schools, quarterbacks at the contenders, quarterbacks of national championship dream havers. And we've named them all. I'm not going to go through the list again. You know exactly who I'm talking about. So, knowing that, what is Drew Aller going to be? Because statistically speaking, in the regular season, Drew Aller was one of the most reliable quarterbacks in college football last year. But I mentioned the games that I mentioned in that take mere moments ago for a reason. The 3 biggest games of the year for the Penn State Nittany Lions were the regular season game against Ohio State. It was very much up in the air which combination of the 4 teams, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon, were going to be in the Big Ten title game at that point, because that was midway through the season. Ohio State in the middle of the season. Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. And while, yes, Penn State got a couple of dubs.
Sorry, I was looking at that poster behind you. I couldn't remember the exact quote of what it says.
You talking about wins and losses on a quarterback stat?
Yeah, because you're making it sound like that those were because of the quarterback.
What's my other phrase that I say many times?
I cannot say that because I don't speak like that.
Okay, not that one. Not that one. That's my outside voice phrase. My other phrase is, one guy can't win you the game, but one guy can lose you the game.
So my question for you, is this a reflection of the coach or the player?
That's the question that I was asking. If we are going to ask that question, can big game James Franklin finally win the big game and have us all stop referring to him sarcastically as big game James? I think that is going to be directly connected to, can Drew Aller put up the numbers in a big game? Ohio State in the regular season, Oregon in the Big Ten championship, which they lost. And while, yes, won a couple of playoff games, but Penn State had, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, the easiest path to the semifinals of any team in the bracket, including getting Boise State, who, yeah, good team. Ashton Jeanty, one of the best college football running backs of all time, but 0 people, including myself, and y'all know I am a sucker for the underdog. I always root for the dog. I didn't think Penn State or that Boise State had a shot last year. I didn't. And in those 3 games, Drew Aller was, best I can give him, pedestrian.
Does it affect the Vegas line because it's James Franklin coaching?
There are 0 variables that don't impact the Vegas line. I cannot answer the question how much it does. I can't answer the question how much it does. I cannot tell you how much
having James Franklin as the coach impacts the bookies sitting in a smoky room in Las Vegas saying, all right, well, they're playing Ohio State. It's regular season. It's week 6. This is the spot that, they lost to Ohio State last year. James Franklin had these 7 play calls that we are very concerned about. And so because of that, we're going to knock 3 points off their total, off their game total, off their line matchup, whatever. I don't know. The answer is yes. I just don't know how much of a variable. But here's what I do know. Penn State catches in the regular season, honestly, and I say this with all due respect, one of the easier schedules of anybody in college football. Nevada, Florida International, Villanova, week 4, September 27th. They are at home against the Oregon Ducks. That's the whiteout game. Then they are at UCLA, back home for Northwestern, at Iowa. Unranked Iowa. But that Iowa team has got some dogs on the front line. Then you go to Ohio State, and this is a danger spot, depending on what Kurt Cignetti is. You go to Ohio State, back home for number 20, Indiana. You put all your eggs into the Ohio State basket, and who knows if you get sniped by the Hoosiers the next week. You wrap it up with Michigan State, Nebraska, and Rutgers, the first and last of those on the road. It is fair to say, if we are going to ask the question, can Big Game James drop the sarcastic big game moniker from his name?
How many of those does he have to win to lose the moniker, though? I mean, winning one isn't enough, is it?
He's not going to do it in the regular season because the narrative persists. If he says,
see, I don't know, you beat Ohio State, you beat some of the other teams in the regular season. Those are big games because those will decide if you're going to the playoff or not.
I don't disagree with you, but I think the moniker, it's kind of like when Bob Stoops was at Oklahoma, won every damn regular season game, won a ton of conference championship games. The reason he was Big Game Bob was because he kept finding his way into, the BCS or into the championship or whatever. And those games, he kept coming up short. The reality here is, even had if James Franklin had made it to the national championship last year, even if he lost, I think a lot of people would have gone, that's a huge step. That's a huge step. But you got by, arguably, two of the lesser respected, SMU and Boise State. You got by, not two of the lesser, you got by the 2 least respected playoff teams, 2 teams that, again, even I, an underdog guy, when I saw the first matchup was SMU Penn State, my take was Kevin Jennings is either going to become a college football legend, and it will take him being a legend to win this game, or SMU's getting bounced. They got bounced. And then they got Boise State. And my takeaway from that game going into it, my analysis on that game was Ashton Jeanty is a dog, and I'm not disputing that. However, he has not seen a Penn State defense like this one that's got 3 NFL draft picks in the front 7 and another one in the secondary. He just has not run against that. It is the individual player version of the argument about why SEC teams have displayed historically dominance in the postseason. Because whether you like this or not, iron sharpens iron. And if you play the best week in, week out every single week, you are just more prepared and ready when it's postseason time. That's just a fact. I don't like it, but it's a fact. That was kind of the take. So the first big game for Big Game James in the postseason last year, in my opinion, was Notre Dame. And they lost that game. He's got to win one of those games. Not saying he's got to win a natty, but you got to win one of those games. And if he goes into the playoffs and he knocks off number 1 Ohio State, yeah, now I think the big game moniker kind of takes a back seat to some degree. But we'll see. So those are the 3 questions for Texas. Is Arch the real deal? Can Steve not outcoach himself? And can they replace 8 guys? For Penn State, can James Franklin drop the moniker? Is Drew Aller able to step up in big games, not step down like this year? And can they replace 4 NFL players across their defense and their defensive coordinator and maintain top consistency? If the answers to all 3 are yes, both of those teams will be in the hunt. Now, a national championship contender, if they handed him out for sports flashes, this guy.
No dispute. The Atlanta Braves got hammered by the New York Mets in the opening game of a 3-game road set. Falling 13-5, Spencer Strider took his 10th loss of the season, giving up 8 hits and 8 runs in 4 innings, including 3 home runs. Atlanta had 8 hits, including doubles from Matt Olson and Nacho Alvarez Jr., but were just 2 of 11 with runners in scoring position. Game 2 is tonight, 7:10. Packers quarterback Jordan Love underwent a last-minute surgery to repair an injured ligament in his non-throwing hand, but is expected to be ready for the season opener. Love wanted to play through the injury, but Green Bay decided the procedure was the fastest path to recovery. And Milwaukee Brewers became the 3rd team since World War II with multiple win streaks of 11 or more games after a 14-0 rout of the Pirates pushed them to their 2nd streak of the season. Brewers took the Pirates' ace Paul Skeens' yard twice in the win.
Up to the minute upstate traffic. Not seeing any slowdown developing as yet on I-85 between Spartanburg and Greenville. Across Spartanburg County, there are currently no lane or road closures impacting your commute. In Greenville County, Gap Creek Road remains fully closed between Jones Gap Road and Devil's Fork Road, and the Church Street Bridge, US 29, Greenville, has lanes reduced. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on The Fan, Upstate.
When was the last time you hopped out of bed without that knee or back screaming at you? Or walked down a flight of stairs without groaning step by step? Let me guess. This is in the back of your mind. Maybe it'll disappear. I'll just tough it out. But nothing changes. Hey, it's Charlie James. It's time to call and schedule that free consultation with the medical pros at QC Kinetics. There are thousands of patients who will tell you they wish they would have done it sooner. They turned around their lives with QC Kinetics. Regenerative treatments that work with your body to help restore and repair damaged joint tissue. Natural cellular therapies. No scalpels, no pills, just long-term relief with no dreaded recovery. Bring your x-rays and MRIs to QC Kinetics for a free, no-pressure chat and thorough evaluation to see if you're a good candidate. Worst case, you'll learn something new. Best case, you get your life back. Grab the phone right now and give them a call at 864-766-8454 in Greenville and in Nashville, 864-766-8454. That's 864-766-8454.
At Ingles, we're proud to sponsor area athletics at all levels, whether we're building new fields for T-ball, celebrating
Electrifying hours in sports talk entertainment. It's the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate.
Wait. I got a thing. I just got to find the thing. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Wait.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having a day today on the show. All right. We're just having a day, having good times for all. We have got a couple of things going for you, as today is Friday on a Wednesday for the boys. Lonzo and I out tomorrow and Friday. Little final vacation before the football season gets started next Saturday for the college ranks, and then just a tick over a week away after that from the National Football League. So we are treating today as if it is a Friday. We're going to get your audio blitz coming up here in just a minute. In the two segments after that, going to be joined by a very special in-studio guest as we get set for the high school football season to get started and underway. Alex Guest, one half of the Saturday Morning Scramble, is going to pop by. We are going to get you set up for the college football season with Alex. We are going to get you set for the high school playoff season with Alex Guest. Coming up here in just mere moments from now. Last two segments of the hour. Alex will join us here on the show. And in the final hour of the show, we're going to get to all the sports talks that we have not sports talked about so far this day or this week, to be honest with you. But let's get to the audio blitz. My friend, some of the best audio we've picked up since the last time we did this 24 hours ago. Fingers crossed. We'll see if it works. Let's start with this one. Preseason is when NFL social media teams are in full swing, because in the preseason, not only do you have access to the players that you usually do not have in the regular season, but everybody's in a good mood because nobody's lost a game yet. One of my favorite trends that's going around right now is that NFL social media teams are asking their players about some of their weird food takes. Here is a clip from the Minnesota Vikings. They were asked, what's a weird food combination you like that nobody else knows about? Now, it's a bunch of answers back to back. I want you to pick out your favorite.
Mac and cheese with baked beans. All right, I don't know about me, but I know my grandma likes cheese on apple pie. I don't get that at all.
I like fries with everything. Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Have y'all tried this? Have y'all tried this?
Have
y'all tried this? Spaghetti with ranch.
No, spaghetti with
spaghetti
sugar.
with ranch.
Spaghetti with sugar.
Spaghetti
with that sugar is spaghetti.
Macaroni and yams.
That's a weird food combo.
You know what? I'm gonna leave out that one. But that's not weird though. That's not weird though.
Is it weird to put applesauce on hamburgers and stuff like that?
Yes.
You do that?
We talk to you, gross, bro. People eat like macaroni and yams. They mix together. I ain't doing that. I'm not doing it.
I'm doing that. Mac and yams.
Cornbread with jelly. Oh, you're a weirdo.
Mr. Honey.
You're a weirdo.
I think I'll go right there with him. He on to something. Or some honey or butter, but he on to something.
Low little twin. I'm gonna go with the honey bun and cheese, man.
I just like to mix my food together.
I like putting soy sauce in my packs of noodles. Chicken flavored up soy sauce. It's not weird. Some people say this is weird, but I put jelly in my grits. Oh, that's the same as people putting sugar in the grits, but I put jelly. So, and sausage and eggs, fully dressed, and butter.
Oh, lots of sausage. Me as well. Same.
Hot sauce on eggs.
Chipotle bowl with Doritos. Fire.
Good food don't gotta be weird. If it's good, it's good.
Anything jump off?
Macaroni and yams. Everything else I'm okay with. As far as grits goes, one thing that Mark Ryan and I completely agree with, it tastes like wet sand. And if you have to put something in it to make it taste good, that means it has no flavor on its own. So it's basically filler for your stomach. But macaroni and yams, I don't know about that. No, I'm not at Thanksgiving. I'm not a guy who doesn't like my food touching. It's a heap and helping, and some of it's probably going to mix together, but not on purpose. I believe there are several combinations in there that made you wince.
There were, but at the same time, none that I was like, I'm totally out on that. Right? Like the one that jumped off the
honey
page
bun and cheese. I mean, we tried. There was a trend going around with Pop-Tarts and cheese. We tried that. Was not bad. So if Pop-Tarts and cheese is not bad, honey buns, same thing. It's just sugar and cheese, I guess.
I guess like it that jumps off as one of those things that like I would probably taste test it on the air as a gag, but I don't know that if I was just like at the house and I open the fridge and there's a slice of cheese and a honey bun, I'd be like, yeah, what about that? The one that kind of jumped off the page at me, applesauce on a burger. Applesauce on a burger. Now, I'm going to assume that if you're going applesauce on the burger.
A lot of stuff on a hamburger. So applesauce on the burger. The one thing about it, it's going to be really messy.
See, I don't mind that. Like a good burger should have a little juice, a little condiment falling off the back of the bun. I'm good with it.
Still, a burger with egg on it is still my favorite. It's also Chris, who's seen a bunch in here today. It's one of his favorite.
I like
burgers.
a breakfast burger.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I still don't think it's called that. But if you put applesauce on it, it's probably going to be less messy than a nice sunny side up egg on a burger.
And I assume that you are getting rid of all of the other toppings there. But that's the only one that really jumped off is like, man, I'd probably try it, but I just don't know. All right, here's a fun story. This is Randy Moss.
Nettie Mac on the stream says spaghetti and ranch. Ew.
Yeah, that one jumped out too.
That doesn't bother me either. I think that might. I mean, unless you got more ranch than you have sauce, I think you put some ranch in there and mix it in together. It's. I don't think it'd be that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be that of the ones that I'm like, I'd try it. I'd probably try it, but it's not anything I'm going to do on my own. Randy Moss, this video popped up. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it was recorded, but there's a video going around of Randy Moss on social media. He is like outside in a parking lot with the boys sitting around a campfire, but they're like in a parking lot of like a warehouse or something. It's really weird, but he tells the story of the celly where he mooned the Packers crowd when he was with the Vikings. And this is why I say I don't judge people until I know why they did what they did.
So as we go into Lambeau, there's probably about 10 white asses sitting over there over the hill. They got all their pants down. It's not but white moons, just all lined up. So we're on the bus. We're talking about, oh, my God. We're sitting there laughing. Man, I scored that game winner touchdown, Tommy Kramer. Man, my boy come over to me. I nudged him out the way. I said, for that good stuff that y'all did for me, y'all taking this. And I said, so, and the bad part about it, my mindset was like, dude, I'm not going to pull my pants down. I'm just going, fake moon them. Yeah. Man, when I get back to Winter Park, I get out to my truck. They tell me, Randy. I said, what? They go, they're going to find you, boy. I said, man, come on now. I was thinking it was all in fun, with the game. Boy, they'd have hit me for that $30,000-$40,000 fence. Hey, Carl, that was your whole salary. I'm mad at everybody. I told them.
Incredible. That Selly, and I remember that one because I remember Joe Buck was indignant.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this disgraceful from Randy Moss. I'm like, Joe, I like you. I'm like one of the few Joe Buck defenders out there. Calm down, big guy. Like, I could maybe see that if Randy Moss would have turned into Warren Moon. Get it? Mm-hmm. Then, like, maybe I would have understood. Maybe don't show your bare ass on TV, but pretending to moon a crowd, I don't care. And then to find out that there were, and I quote, a dozen white asses pointed at the bus on the way into the stadium. Cool. Turnabout's fair play. I'm good with it.
All right. You're getting older, so I don't know how your memory is. Over under 10 times that you've mooned people.
Under. Honestly, you could probably set that at like 5.5 and it would be an under. I just don't know why that wasn't like, it just was never a thing that I was like, oh, I'm gonna put my butt on the window.
I gotta probably go with over. And also, I was also designated driver for a bunch more that I didn't participate in. Because I had a Chevy Bonneville, which is like what the B-52s would sing about. It was really large. It's set about 20. And
if you ask me how many moons I was driving while they happened,
yeah, that
might be a different answer.
I think you're an accessory.
Yeah,
if you're driving, especially if you encourage.
I'm more of the participate in the prank, not the do the prank guy.
Well, if you're laughing, that's encouraging. So
that's also fair.
Yeah.
All right, let me get one more in here before we go to the break.
Not that we condone ever doing that.
No, I condone it. Absolutely do it. It's hilarious.
No,
hilarious.
That would get you kicked out of school.
Don't do it while you're driving, but like outside of that, free reign.
If you're at work, right now during the break, Rob's just going to walk up to the window and do his thing.
Alex is down in the parking lot. I might.
He can't see past your face.
Kendrick Perkins was on the Road Trippin' podcast. Now, I have had some issues with K Perk and some of his NBA takes over the last couple of years.
Where's he working now?
Right now, I don't think anywhere, as he was one of the casualties of ESPN cost cutting so that they could give Stephen A. Smith more money. We'll fight about that later. K Perk was on the Road Trippin' pod. He's been on this pod a bunch over the course of the year. We've pulled some sound from him. He had this take, and K Perk, I already felt like I could grab a beer and have a good time with Kendrick Perkins. But I need you to know, K Perk, while I push back on some of your NBA takes over the years, you have, in the immortal words of Dumb and Dumber, done something like this and completely redeemed yourself.
Listen to me. It needs to be some type of law. If you're in a public place, restaurant, the bus, the airplane, wherever you're at, it should be something in place where people start getting fined for having their phone on speakerphone and having a full-out conversation in public. It should be a fine. It happened to me 2 or 3 times yesterday. In the airport, in a restaurant, in a shuttle bus when you land in LAX to go to the Uber. Why are you on your... Nobody wants to hear about your baby mama drama. Nobody wants to hear about what's happening. Nobody cares. Put your earbuds in. You know what I'm saying? Put the phone to your ear. Once you get on the plane, you have to use your quiet voice. I'm so tired of getting on the plane and they have that one individual. And 9 times out of 10, it's a man. It's a man that's on the plane and he wants the world to know that he is so successful. Why do you wait to get on the plane to start talking loud about your business?
K Perk with the take of the day, of the week, of the month, of the year, of the decade. There is...
I was concerned for his life at the beginning. I don't know what that noise was, but that was...
that was the edited out audio of their little social media clip from the Road Trippin' podcast, which you can follow on social media. It's a fun pod. Basically, they talk to athletes and broadcasters and just people in the sports world while they're on road trips, right? Like while they're traveling the country doing stuff, they check in from hotel rooms and stuff. It's kind of an interesting concept. But K Perk says there should be a law. We should start handing out fines. And I don't think I've ever agreed with the Kendrick Perkins take more. I don't, because this is all of the bleeping time in my life. Yesterday, the wife and I went to do a little shopping to get ready for our little vacation. I wanted a couple of, I needed another pair of pants, another pair of shorts to take with me. I needed something a little dressier. We're going to spend some time at the nice bars on the beach. Wanted to look nice for the lady. So we went to a local big box, they have everything store. Kind of more the one that's considered more upscale. You know the one I'm talking about, Joe Dirt.
So not the place where you normally would get your receipt checked.
Correct.
Okay.
One that is considered slightly more upscale than that. So we went in there, and she went over to the ladies' clothing. I went over to the fellas' clothing. We pick out our
the place
stuff.
Where everyone looks and talks like a Karen?
Yes.
Okay.
The one that is known for that.
Okay. All right.
So she went to the ladies' clothing. I went to the fellas' clothing. We basically do this thing where we go pick out stuff we like. We then meet up and we go, I like that. I don't like that. Get that. Don't get that. Whatever. Before we do our shopping. I am standing in the bros section of this particular store. And there is a guy one aisle over, not just having a maximum volume speakerphone conversation, but he is quite aggravatedly yelling at who I have to assume was his father about the actions of who I have to assume was his brother, and the fact that apparently, I'm assuming, the brother got absolutely bleep-faced a few nights ago, and I quote, broke my Xbox controller.
Oh, no.
Dad, if you don't get him under control, I'm going to beat his. And I'm like,
did he hold his phone like this while he's doing it? Did you see? No,
I didn't see the guy.
People walk with speakerphone and have to put the speaker like rests on their the phone rests on their chin. That's so weird.
If you are holding the speakerphone up to your head, just take the one extra step and move it from the front of your face to the side of your face and put it on the damn phone.
It's not that far of a step.
I absolutely support K-Perk. I think there should be some sort of reporting system. Here's what we need to do. We need to take like the resources allocated to ICE, and we need to develop a new search and destroy government entity. And what they need to do is basically have a hotline where if you on your phone can snap a video of a person in public using their speakerphone, they show up, arrest that person, and send them to Gitmo.
Wow. If you see something, say something, I guess.
Yes. This needs to be the criminal tracking system we need. If you are on a speakerphone in public, especially if you're having like a private, personal, family conversation, doctor conversation, loved one conversation, whatever. If you're on speakerphone, you should absolutely be sent to jail. At least for like one night just to think about what you did. I'm not saying like send them away forever, but like for a night. All right? Just one. Think about what you did.
County lockup, maximum security. Well, what do we do?
I think county's fine. I think you throw them in the poke. You spend a night in there. We'll let you out tomorrow so that you don't miss work. And, think about what you did. Next time, though, 5 days. Time after that, 10 days. Time after that, 1 year. All right, we're escalating hard. Alex Guest, host of the Saturday Morning Scramble, joins us in the studio. Next segment, we'll get you set up for local high school football season. We'll get Alex's thoughts on some of the college football that we'll be addressing next week and more. That's next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Real sports talk, real sports fans.
The Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and now, ladies and gentlemen, do I have a treat for you? During the break, Lonzo asked the question, how many famous people have sat in the chair to my left? And the answer is a lot. But none of them carry the weight, the stature, the respect, and just the raw sex appeal of the young man who sits in on the show with us now. He is one half of the Saturday Morning Scramble. Of course, alongside host of Wire to Wire, Cole Bryson, the illustrious Alex Guest in the building. What's up,
would you
big
say
fella?
he's the better half?
I would say that, but Cole could also beat me up, so I'm not going to.
Come on. Everybody in this room is laughing at that.
I have a theory, Alex. Yes, your partner, Cole Bryson.
Sure.
He's got that quiet country strength to him, don't he?
He does. Yes.
He scares me. He seems like that dude that would try to walk everybody off the ledge, but like the moment the first fist flies at the bar, like Cole Bryson's the one that's just taking everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
He terrifies me.
I'll talk to Cole occasionally, and I'm like, what are you doing, Cole? And
that does help when you host a talk show with him.
Yes. And he's like, I'm at the gym. I'm like, oh, okay. So you go to the gym. You've got that quiet. He grew up in Boiling Springs. So what is there in Boiling Springs to do other than, back in the day, back in Cole's day, 5 years ago, bale some hay and throw it on the back of a truck, So.
We throw hay and we throw fist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
That's a really long throw for him.
No,
it's just, I'm just saying,
I think Cole could hold his own with anyone.
I think so too. He scares me a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure. Alex Guest joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Brother, we are days away from high school football, man. I know that obviously we got a lot of teams that you guys are going to cover on the Scramble, going to get covered on Wire to Wire, et cetera. But just kind of walk me through, like, what 2-3 stories are we most interested in? Which teams are we kind of dialed in as potential state title contenders, et cetera? Just kind of give me your 36,000-foot view on what this football season looks like. I know that's a huge scope to talk about, but what are we dialed in on?
Yeah, I think obviously you're going to have your usual suspects. So, in 5A, everybody's going to be talking about Dutch Fork. Can they win? Can they win now their fourth straight state championship again? And they went on a 5-year streak of winning state championships, and Gaffney broke that streak back in 2021. And now, Gaffney and Dutch Fork aren't in the same division. There's the 5A Division I, Division II. And so Dutch Fork will be obviously right there at the top as a contender. I think really in our area, you have your usual suspects. You've got your Gaffneys, your Spartanburgs. I think Burns will be much improved this year from where they were last year. Burns had a tough task last year of having to play every game on the road, which is kind of unprecedented, and no other team in the state did that. So I think you're going to have, in the 5A ranks, that's kind of, I think, your teams to look for in the area. As you go on down, you get down to 4A in the area, you're really kind of looking at like West Side and Daniel. They should continue to be competitive. That'll probably be a region championship, or actually they are not in the same region. Sorry, but that'll be, both of those teams will be contending for region championships. Once you get down to 3A, you're looking at Belton Honeypath. They are consistently good year in and year out. Russell Blackston has his team. He's in his 16th season, and I think he's had Belton Honeypath in the upper state championship or the state championship probably 10 of those 16 seasons. So he really knows how to run a program at Belton Honeypath. They were the state runner-up last year to Oceanside Collegiate, who starts the season ranked number 1 in 3A. So, again, Belton Honeypath in our area. And then in 2A, you're talking about defending state champion Clinton. They really put it on last year, going 12-2. Corey Fountain down there entering his 7th season, and has got Clinton back to a spot where they were definitely Clinton had kind of fallen off a little bit, and Corey Fountain has got them back to a spot of prominence.
I just want to say 3 times he said Clinton. Didn't say Clannon. That's I mean, so I'm keeping track there.
I don't believe in that no T.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Neither do we. We are non-believers in the lack of T.
I know the people in Clinton are probably, let's Clinton.
Well, I have a theory they have no front teeth. And I've actually been there. But anyway.
All I'm saying is I've driven through the town. There's a T on the sign. All right. You
exactly.
want us to say it that way? Take the T off the sign. I'm happy to do it.
I'm born and raised in South Carolina, and it's always just been Clinton to me. It's not Clinton.
Talk to me, because I know we're going to hear quite a bit about it from the voice of the Burns Rebels, Cole Bryson.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that team? This has been the past really 3 or 4 years has been interesting because like 4 years ago, you had a bunch of dudes that transferred in.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next year, you had a bunch of the main playmakers who transferred out. Then last year, Road Warriors had no home stadium last year, so every game was a road game. So I know that there's been a lot of tumultuous dealings there around this Rebel football team, but it does feel like this is the first year that, at least this year, there's stability. We got a stadium. Everybody's set. We know the talent that's coming back. We know the talent we have, et cetera. What's a legitimate set of expectations for that football team out of this season?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Rob, they were 5-6 last year. So by Burns standards, that's a terrible season. I mean, we're talking about a team that the Bobby Bentleys and the Chris Millers of the world had really just vying for a state championship every year. But Reggie Shaw entering his 9th season, like you mentioned, Road Warriors last year. You have to go on the road for every single game you play. And that, in all reality, Rob, I mean, when you're a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, you don't get to play in front of your home crowd. I mean, that takes a toll mentally. And then you're riding the bus every single week. And that's going to take a toll physically, having to sit on the bus and ride it every single week. But, I mean, in last year, 2024, they were a young team. You talk about the players that they have coming back. I mean, you obviously have your running back in Trey Segura in the backfield. I mean, he's just an incredible special player. He's very humble. He's hungry. He has high expectations of himself. So he's kind of one of those players that the coaches don't necessarily have to worry about week in and week out. They know that he's going to go out there and he's going to perform. And, he's a 3-sport athlete. And you hear that about a football player. You're not necessarily expecting a 3-sport athlete to also play soccer and then be a wrestler. But, he took up wrestling last year and finished 5th in the state. So
with the gas, that kid's got the thighs. Good luck with that.
Yeah. But then, you've got Kane Rogers returning at quarterback. There has been a quarterback battle in the offseason between Kane Rogers and, of course, I'm going to say that Walker Burdett. There we go. I
believed in you the whole time, buddy.
But there's been a great quarterback battle between Walker Burdett and Kane Rogers this offseason for them. But, regardless of who's going to, I saw Burns last week play Providence Day out of North Carolina. Providence Day, 11 D1 guys on that roster. So,
that ain't bad.
Anybody that's going to go up against them is going to have a hard time. They had a left tackle that was, I would venture to guess, probably 6'7", 6'8", somewhere in there. So, but, you've got your linebackers in Johnson Montgomery and Octavius Davis that are returning from last year's team that are much more mature. They're much more experienced. And so I would say, Rob, I mean, I'm giving Burns more than 5 wins this year. Just a tough task last year, but I think Burns will be in that top 2-3 in that region.
That'll be interesting. Got a mention on the Facebook chat. Steven wants to know, quote, Dorman gonna win it all, right, Alex? ?
Oh, Steven.
I'm sure that's exactly what he wanted to hear, actually.
Yeah. No, well, you're talking about a team that was 6-4. Jake Morris now coming into his 3rd season. I've always had the mentality, not so much recently with all these high schools having transfers coming in and out, but I've always had the mentality that it takes a coach 3 years to really implement his own schemes and his own rhythm. And so I think with Jason Farmer coming in as your new offensive coordinator at Dorman, just what Jason Farmer has been able to do at his previous stops, and then Jake Morris now in his third season, I think Dorman's going to be much improved. Stephen, we'll have to talk. I don't know if Dorman's going to win it all, but I'll gladly come back on at the end of the season and eat my crow. I like it fried, if I have to.
Alex Guest, one half of the Saturday morning scramble here on the Rob Brown Show. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back out the other side. We'll get one or two more thoughts from Alex on this year's high school football stadium. We're going to pop a couple of questions at him about the college football schedule, which starts up next Saturday, and then we'll call it an hour. Rob Brown, Alex Guest in, the great one, Lonzo on the ones and twos. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Fan Upstate.
Listen on the Odyssey app. Search the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, joined live in studio by one half of the Saturday morning scramble, which does get its start this very Saturday right here on the Fan Upstate. Cole Bryson and Alex Guest will be taking you through and around all of the high school football you can possibly stand, and then a little bit more every Saturday morning. Alex Guest live in studio talking a little high school ball. Got a texter here, Alex, as we continue to put you on the spot via the Hub City Spartanburger text line at 844-326-3663. A texter asking about, and I quote, "Dem Greer Yellow Jackets." Thoughts on the Yellow Jackets? Do we have any?
Dem.
It's right there. DEMGRRRRRRER. Yellow Jackets.
Well, they didn't even have to put the ER on the end of Greer. Just, it's Grr.
It's Grr.
Well, you're talking about a mainstay in coaching in Will Young. Will Young has been at Greer. I think he's entering his now 21st season. So they are definitely, I think they are right there kind of on the cusp, Rob, of just really being able to break over that hump. I think it was 2018 or 2019. They made it to the state championship, looked really good in the first half, and then kind of made some second half adjustments, or didn't make second half adjustments, and ended up losing to Myrtle Beach in that state championship. But, you're talking about a place that Greer, they've got 5 state championships up on their water tower under that looms over Dooley Field. And they are a very proud football community. So the 7-5 last year that Greer had took a couple of games on the chin. There were a couple of games that, you really felt like you probably should have won and you didn't win. But you talk about their non-region schedule, Rob. I mean, get this: Boiling Springs, Belton Honeypath, Hillcrest, and Burns. That's a tough non-region schedule, but Will Young has been around the game long enough that he knows that you have to schedule those tough non-region games to get yourself ready for the region, and in turn get yourself ready for playoff play. But you've got, really, it should come down between Daniel and Greer in that region. And that's a Week 10 game on Halloween night at Dooley Field. So if Greer plays like they're supposed to play and plays good Greer football, I think they are in contention for a region championship with Daniel. You've got Chase Free, wide receiver and defensive back that's returning for Greer. You've got AJ Jackson, who kind of plays receiver and running back for the Yellow Jackets. But, Greer's going to be that team that is going to rely heavily on their offensive line. And unfortunately, last year they had some injuries that really kind of hurt them in the long run. You talked about Calvin McCoy, who's a running back for them, that had a season-ending concussion early in the season last year. Dalton Fowler, their quarterback, is going to come up. He was JV at the start of last year. They had a quarterback last year that went out due to concussion and due to other injuries. That Dalton Fowler came up and really performed well for the Yellow Jackets last year. But Greer, they're not going to have a lot of household names to start the season, Rob, but as the season goes on, you're going to start seeing those names in the papers and hearing it on the scramble.
Zach is in the chat. Ask for your thoughts on the Hillcrest Rams, which, by the way, that H, that like sharp angle H logo, one of the dopest logos in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's the thing about Hillcrest. You've got your quarterback back, Jackson Free. If you've never seen Jackson Free play football, he's fun to watch. He's a gunslinger. He's fun to watch. And, Bennett Swigert, the head coach of the Hillcrest Rams, entering his 3rd season for Hillcrest. So, again, I think Hillcrest is going to kind of get a little bit more into a rhythm of what Coach Swigert wants to run over there in Simpsonville. And, I I think Hillcrest will be much improved. They were 8-4 last year. So you say, well, how do you be much improved from 8-4? Well, I think there are, of those 4 losses that they had, I think you're going to see a lot of improvement that's going to help them kind of get over the hump. But Bennett Swaggart's kind of in a tough situation because ever since that 2015 state championship run for Hillcrest, that's kind of what Hillcrest is expecting. And Zach, I think Bennett has the team going in the right direction, and I think Hillcrest will get back to that prominence for sure.
Is there a school that we have missed? Because we've got 5 or 6 or 7 more in the chat. Question about Christchurch, question about Greenwood, question about Woodruff, etc. So for the last one here, Alex, yes, I will put it on you. Is there a team we haven't gotten yet that you think has maybe not necessarily is a title contender, but maybe there's a storyline, maybe there's some sort of narrative about the season that people would be interested in? If I open-ended to give me a school that you personally are tuned into following their story this year, who's it going to be and why?
Well, can I give you a couple?
Sure you can.
Okay, so the first name that kind of came to mind for me was Chapman. We know what Chapman had under Mark Hodge before he made his move to Spartanburg a few years back, and Chapman, they kind of had Chapman had a very down season last year. They went 3-8. That's not really what you would expect from Chapman. And Harry Cabanis has that team going in the right direction. Lewis McAllister, he's a two-way player for them. But the defensive line is going to be your anchor of that entire team. You talk about Chapman. Get this, Rob. By week 5 of last year, they had lost 9 starters to season-ending injuries. So it's kind of difficult and they were freak injuries. They weren't really torn muscles or anything like that. They were freak injuries, broken collarbones, that kind of stuff. So you lose 9 starters in the first 5 games of a season, and it's difficult to kind of overcome that. You had to bring up a lot of your JV players and that kind of stuff. So I think Chapman's going to be much improved this year. I could see that record honestly being flipped, going from 3-8 last year to kind of an 8-3 record this year, 8-2 in the regular season, something like that. And then my other one, Rob, that comes to mind is Broome. Broome, again, a proud football tradition for the Centurions. They're in that same region as Chapman, but they play a tough schedule here in 2025. It's the same schedule as last year, just flipped, but they again were 3-8 last year. Lynn Fleming in his 9th season, he's going to have Jamison Derryberry back. He's a senior quarterback for the Centurions. They've got Reese Wagaman in the backfield along with Devin Brown. And so, Lynn Fleming, head coach of the Centurions, mentioned, you need to improve on tackling to make sure that we're able to get the defensive stops that we need. But that's kind of been a big focus during the offseason for them and during summer practice and summer workouts. So I think those are going to be 2 names that, you looked at last year. Both the teams ended the season 3-8, but I think those are going to be 2 schools that are definitely ones to look out for this year.
Alex Guest, host of the Saturday Morning Scramble with Cole Bryson. They get fired up this Saturday morning for a little, what is it, week -1, week 0? What do y'all do?
Week next week is week 0, so I guess
it's a preview show,
-1.
according to the promos that I heard Cole do. So,
there we go,
yeah.
Preview show.
There we go.
Fair enough for me. All right, real quick before we let you get up out of here, Alex Guest joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. College football, preseason AP top 25 dropped yesterday. I am kind of running through a series on the social media about the big 3 questions that everybody who wants a playoff spot is going to have to answer.
Okay.
Have not yet gotten to Clemson or South Carolina. Those will come either over the weekend or on Monday, but I kind of think everybody kind of knows what they are. So I asked this question earlier in the show. Paycheck on it, Cade Klubnik or Lenora Sellers, who has the more successful season? I'll let you define success however you want. Paycheck on it. Which one of those 2 guys ends up with the more successful season?
First, when I heard you talking about that, I got to get words. English is hard.
Again,
words are hard.
It's a minor part of the job.
When I first heard you talking about that on my drive in this morning, my immediate reaction was Cade Klubnik, just for the schedule that Clemson plays versus the schedule that South Carolina plays. I think the SEC defenses that South Carolina plays will probably cause a little havoc for Lenore Sellers, whereas Cade Klubnik is probably not going to see the toughest defenses in the ACC. So my initial reaction there, based on just a broad view of the word success, was Cade Klubnik.
That, I think, was my automatic reaction as well. But I also said, and this is the part that I think I kind of argue for the subjective definition of success. I would say if Lenore Sellers gets the Gamecocks into the playoffs, and so does Cade Klubnik, I'd say that's more successful this season for Lenore Sellers, right? Like, I think Cade's got to go a game or two further. But I also agree with your thoughts on the SEC. It's not just that South Carolina has to play better defenses more consistently. The final 7 weeks of the program are the worst back half of anybody in football.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
6 of the 7 games are against not just SEC teams inside the top 18. 6 of 7 in a row. If he walks out of this season, honestly, I think 9-3, you got to go. That was a hell of a season. And I do think whatever the outcome is for South Carolina, it's pretty much, and this is not a bad thing because Florida was this way with Tebow. Auburn was this way with Newton. There's been a lot of schools that, like, they had that guy, and as goes him, goes that team. It's not a bad thing, but I think if they're 9-3, you got to look and go, we're on the way up still.
No, I absolutely agree. And, that's kind of why I say the initial reaction was Cade Klubnik. But then when you start looking at it and you start trying to break down, well, what is success? I think they both will have stellar seasons. And I agree with you, Rob. I think they both should end up in New York at the end of the season for a potential Heisman Trophy presentation.
Your 2025, I forgot what year it is. It's been a long day. Your 2025-26 college football national champion Alex Guest will be.
Oh,
I mean, there's only like 18 teams that could do it.
Yeah, there's only it will be. Not Penn State.
Not Penn State.
Not Penn State.
That's a hell of a pick. Hang the banner, not Penn State.
Not Penn State.
You did it. I don't know, man. Like, I don't trust James Franklin or Drew Aller. The problem is, if you got a quarterback that maybe isn't there in the big games, but you got a head coach that I trust to call the plays around him, okay, we can deal with that. If you got a high-level quarterback that can drag a head coach who maybe chokes it up in big games, like James Franklin is accused of being, I can be okay with that. The problem is, and this is why I'm not on Penn State either, I got a head coach I don't trust in a big game, and I got a quarterback that has proven to me I shouldn't trust him in a big game. Those 2 reasons are why I immediately nix Penn State. It is also why I have big questions about Texas this year, because we don't know if Arch is the real deal. And Steve Sarkisian, in back-to-back years now, has gone into a playoff game, which he was either favored or it was neutral, and just lost his mind in both of them. I'm out on Texas, too.
Yeah, I agree with that, Rob. And I think, and this isn't because Lonzo is sitting across from me giving me a glare, but I think that your best chance, I think, might be Ohio State to repeat.
Julian Thane, big question marks. I appreciate it. Alex Guest, host of Saturday Morning Scramble with Cole Bryson. They will be live this Saturday morning to talk a little high school football. Brother, good to see you. Thanks for coming by, man.
I already turned my mic off.
That's okay.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing better than listening to the sultry sounds of Alex Guest, the seductive siren that is the great one, Lonzo.
Sirens are female. I just want to point that out. The Atlanta Braves got hammered. Don't let the hair fool you, buddy. By the New York Mets in the opening game of a 3-game road set following 13-5. Spencer Strider took the 10th loss of the season, giving up 8 hits and 8 runs in 4 innings, including 3 home runs. Atlanta had 8 hits, including doubles from Matt Olson and Nacho Alvarez Jr., but we're just 2 of 11 with runners in scoring position. Game 2 is tonight at 7:10. Packers quarterback Jordan Love underwent a last-minute surgery to repair an injured ligament in his non-throwing hand, but is expected to be ready for the season opener. Love wanted to play through the injury, but Green Bay said, no, you're not going to do that. Milwaukee Brewers became the 3rd team since World War II with multiple win streaks of 11 or more games after a 14-0 rout of the Pirates pushed them to their second streak of the season. The Brewers took Pirates ace Paul Skeens' yard twice in the win, 2 of their league-leading 23 homers since.
Up to the minute upstate traffic. Well, it was very late, but southbound 85 is now bogged down. There is a 7-mile stretch from exit 60, the 101, to Pelham Road with an average speed of 20 miles an hour. The northbound side of 85 and the rest of the upstate is in good shape, with Wade Hampton and Whitehorse problem-free. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on The Fan, Upstate.
When was the last time you hopped out of bed without that knee or back screaming at you? Or walked down a flight of stairs without groaning step by step? Let me guess. This is in the back of your mind. Maybe it'll disappear. I'll just tough it out. But nothing changes. Hey, it's Charlie James. It's time to call and schedule that free consultation with the medical pros at QC Kinetics. There are thousands of patients who will tell you they wish they would have done it sooner. They turned around their lives with QC Kinetics.
Thank you very much to the illustrious Alex Guest for swinging by, talking a little high school and college football with us. Remember, the Saturday Morning Scramble with Alex and Cole Bryson will start this Saturday morning right here on the Fan Upstate,
8 to
bright
10.
and early.
8 to 10, by the way. Saturday mornings, 8 to 10.
It used to be earlier than that.
No. And following NASCAR.
Hell yeah.
From 7:30 to 8.
Hell yeah.
And then you got Saturday Morning Scramble.
Hell yeah.
Throughout high school and into the playoffs usually. So, yeah.
NASCAR followed by high school football.
There is no station, there is no show that has more high school coaches than the Saturday Morning Scramble.
Oh, no, not at all.
And these guys are out there working hard the night before talking about the football coaches, but they're willing to jump on there with Cole and Alex every Saturday morning. So if you're a high school football fan, you need to listen.
Yeah, absolutely do. If you are a high school football dude or dudette, whether you just love,
even if you're not, if you just move to the area and you're like, okay, I need to learn something about the high schools. I got a kid who's going to be going to high school pretty soon. I want to know who they're playing and things like that. You get an idea just by listening to that show.
Yeah, it's fantastic. There is no better way to keep caught up and with a pair of moderately talented guests.
We just watched Alex just drop some knowledge, man. I mean, no notes, just jumping in there.
Yeah, that's it. Fantastic job. Appreciate Alex Guest for coming by. All right, I have asked the question, and we shan't linger on it, at least on my end, but we will linger on your answers. Paycheck on the line. One of yours, not one of mine. Paycheck on the line. At the end of the year, who will have had the better season between Cade Klubnik and Lenora Sellers? Now, Rob Brown believes that both of them are going to have very good seasons. Rob Brown has taken out a Heisman Trophy winner future on both quarterbacks out of South Carolina. If either one of them wins the Heisman, Rob Brown is purchasing himself a very nice and very expensive bottle of bourbon in celebration for the Heisman Trophy coming to the Palmetto State. I will be quite excited for whichever fan base gets to add a Heisman Trophy to it, if that is indeed what happens. Here's the other thing I was thinking about. We broke down earlier. Subscribe.
All right, just really quick. WWE official Charles Robinson has been in the hospital.
Not Lil Nate.
Because he got bit by a bat.
That's just the most Lil Nate story I've ever heard. Rabies is no joke. You ever heard what happens to you if you get rabies?
Yeah,
it's absolutely terrifying.
It's not.
If you get bit and are not diagnosed and treated for rabies immediately, it has like a 99.9% fatality rate, and it is horrifying.
All right, and I quote, a great way to start the morning, 2 a.m., and got bit by a bat. That's right, a bat. 4 hours later in the ER and 6 shots.
Yeah. If you get bit by a bat, you will be treated as if you have rabies, because if you do not, and you do get rabies, you're dead. Not kinda, not maybe, not you got to punch your shit. No. If you get it, you're dead.
Yeah, public service announcement. Stay away from bats.
I mean, the problem isn't staying away from the bats. The problem is the bats staying away from you.
On particularly bug days, when you see all the bugs are out, you're going to see more bats out, and those always a concern for me getting to and from the house. So yeah,
don't get bit by a bat. Good luck, Lil Nate. Pulling for you, buddy. Best ref seller of all time.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
I just want to say it's really going to be hard to tell who's going to have the if I were to bet my meager paycheck, I guess I got to go with Cade. Just because he is, the sample size is bigger, and I believe he's improved year after year. He's no longer handing the ball off. If he was just doing that, he would still be very efficient because he was really good at handing the ball off. But Lenore's had a good year.
Norris had a very good year.
Yeah, but that was like his first year starting. So what's he going to do this year? I don't know. The sophomore slump is a thing. I hope it's not for South Carolina because things are looking up. It's a pretty good ranking for whatever it's worth, preseason ranking. But Clemson, as Alex pointed out last hour, has the easier schedule. So Cade has the better opportunity. But if they end up with equal records and they're both winning records, Lenore's would get the edge because of playing in the SEC and playing those defenses.
I agree. And I do believe that, and I've said this a few times, I very much do believe that both of these teams, and I think this is true of, I'm going to say most of the contenders, not all, but most of the contenders, with a couple of rare exceptions. Most of the contenders will achieve whatever they achieve as a direct result of the quarterback living up to whatever the quarterback lives up to, right? If we are talking about Lenora Sellers, if Lenora Sellers is what I have called him, or at least believe he has the potential to be, which is South Carolina's Cam Newton, that guy that kind of comes out of nowhere, is to some degree expected to be good, but ends up being fantastic. I mean, good, like great. Then yeah, South Carolina can be a playoff team. It's going to be a tough slog. We've said it 10,000 times. We'll say it 10,000 more. Back 7 weeks of the schedule for South Carolina is, I think, the toughest back 7 weeks of any team in college football. And Lenore Sellers is going to be saddled with taking down not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 preseason. We'll see. I mean, one of the things that will have to happen for South Carolina, I think, to have a shot at, I've said a few times, I think 10-2 in the SEC gets you in the playoff. I really do. I think 10-2 in the playoff, 10-2 out of the Southeastern Conference, I think you're in the playoff. In fact, I think that this year, maybe even more than the last couple of years, there is the likelihood of much wailing and gnashing of teeth at the end of the season. Because I think it is possible that we could see a couple of 9-3 Southeastern Conference teams that might jump a couple of 10-2 other conference teams. Certainly the Big 12. I would say potentially the ACC, even though I am making the argument, and I will, we'll see if I'm right or wrong about it. I think the ACC is better than they're getting credit for this year. Not to say that they're great, but I think they're better than they're getting credit for. I think that 10-2 in the SEC, I'm not going to say guarantees you a playoff spot, but I think it's got you very squarely in that conversation. 10-2 with South Carolina's schedule is tough.
One more win last year, they would have been in, right?
One more win last year, they'd have got in. This is why South Carolina fans, and they take heat for the internet. I will rush to the defense for what it is worth. This is why that loss to LSU, a game in which, yes, and I try my best not to be this way, but sometimes it is what it is. This is why, in my opinion, the highway robbery that was the LSU game, and I'm not even talking about the injury to Lenora Sellers that kept him out of the second half of that game. I am talking about just the calls down the stretch. Primarily the one that took a pick six that ended the game off the board and gave LSU another opportunity to score and win the thing. This is why that is a massive sticking point to South Carolina fans. We played the comedy guy, the comedian last week, who is ranking the most obnoxious SEC fan bases, and he had South Carolina number 9. And is one of his complaints for South Carolina being the night, which, by the way, I don't know if I'm like more proud if I'm a South Carolina fan. I don't know if I'm more proud or insulted of being number 9 in the most obnoxious fan base. But one of the complaints was, South Carolina fans always gripe about, the refs stole it from us. No, but when they do, they do. And in that game, they did. One more gets them in. But I would also make the argument that when you go back and you look at last year's schedule versus this year, and again, this is a take that is relevant and prevalent in the preseason. It may not feel the same way at the end of the year. Look, I might texted the show earlier and said, Rob Brown, lunch bet LSU's 8-4. Well, guess what? If LSU is 8-4, I think there's a very good chance that South Carolina's one of those 4, and maybe that game that we look at as a preseason really tough, high emotional game, maybe it's not what we think it's going to be. Now, again, the media very high on LSU coming into this year, and I think a lot of it has to do with the pressure on Brian Kelly. A lot of it has to do with who they believe is going to be a Heisman finalist in Garrett Nussmeier. We'll find out, but maybe they're down a peg. Maybe people are overestimating Brett Venables and Oklahoma. Again, went and got himself an offensive coordinator, is allegedly turning over the reins and saying, I'm done with trying to be involved with the offense. I'm going to Nick Saban this thing and hand the headset over to somebody who is an offensive coordinator. But maybe they're not those guys. Maybe John Mateer is a little bit overrated. Maybe John Mateer gets caught up in a gambling probe investigation ongoing by OU. Maybe he can't play. Maybe some things go sideways for Oklahoma, and a team that we are looking at as a reason that South Carolina's back seven is the toughest back seven in college football this year. Maybe they fall just a bit. Maybe you look at Texas A&M. Again, a team that a lot of people are very high on. I am, for the record, one of them. Are they a cult? Yeah, no, they definitely are. But Mike Elko's a hell of a football coach, and the boys at A&M are bought in. They're also well compensated for their effort. And then you got Alabama. I think Alabama is a genuine national championship contender this year. Some people don't. Lonzo's one of them. If they're not, like maybe South Carolina catches some breaks in between preseason number 9 LSU, number 18 Oklahoma, number 8 Alabama, number 21 Ole Miss, number 19 Texas A&M, and number 4 Clemson. Maybe 2, 3 of those teams don't live up to their preseason ranking. And if that's the case, maybe you find your way in. But regardless of all of that, the reality of this situation, in my ever so humble opinion, is much like Cam at Auburn, much like Tebow at Florida, much like Jameis at Florida State. There are just some teams that end up with a generational quarterback who is able to carry them past what the rest of the team would be capable of. And again, quarterback wins and losses are not a quarterback stat. But the flip side of that argument from me is one guy cannot win you a game. One guy can damn sure lose you one. And so the question mark is, do either one of these guys end up being the reason that these two teams don't win a game they're expected to win? A game. This is the drawback. The benefit for Clemson is the schedule is exponentially, even if I'm right about all the other teams in the ACC, and even if I'm spot on accurate about the ACC being better than it's given credit for being. Georgia Tech, North Carolina, SMU, Duke, FSU, Louisville, South Carolina. That's the schedule. It ain't a nobody, right? I've already made the argument. Clemson's got a tougher schedule than Penn State does ahead of them. That's just an objective truth, an objective reality. But
do they though?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Because Clemson plays in the ACC and the Penn State plays in the Big Ten. So no, I disagree with you.
Clemson has, much like the Big Ten itself, they catch the two other heavy hitters. And I will acknowledge I do not agree with them.
Clemson has bookends.
Clemson has bookends against LSU and South Carolina. I am willing to say, it is an objective truth that the two best teams that Penn State has to play this year, Ohio State and Oregon in the regular season, are two better teams likely than anybody Clemson has on the schedule. No disrespect, South Carolina, I include you. And I include LSU, though a lot of people believe that LSU is a legitimate A-tier contender this year. I'm not there yet. But I would say it is at least comparable. And then I look at the rest of the schedule. What else are you leaning on if you're Penn State to boost the strength of schedule there? Michigan State? Nah. But I've made the argument about a Georgia Tech team that took Georgia to 8 overtimes last year.
You were just talking about how good Iowa is. So
no, what I said was I got some dogs on the defensive line.
They've got India. If they got India, that would be amazing. They've got Indiana and they've got Iowa, both good, solid teams.
You all know how much of an Indiana / Kurt Signetti guy
Indiana and
I
Iowa
am.
Better than everybody in the ACC except for probably Clemson.
Indiana is not better than SMU.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty
last year's
easy.
Indiana, maybe.
Yeah.
Last year's, not this year's. Different year. It's a different team.
Oregon, same way, but you already mentioned Oregon. So, yeah, I just no way.
I've already given you
Clemson, we got a hard start. We got a hard ending. Everything else in between is cake. Clemson is the ACC.
All right, so UNC with Belichick's going to suck.
Didn't say it would suck. I also didn't say that Clemson would beat them. Would lose to them. Clemson has a good shot of going undefeated or at least only having 2 losses.
Subjectively speaking, from my own opinion, Clemson has a harder schedule than Penn State.
Penn State has a harder schedule, so it's going to be more difficult for them to do what Clemson's going to be able to do.
Hard disagree from me. We'll come back on that later.
ACC is weak. It is. And you keep trying to compare the ACC to Big Ten. The Big Ten's won the national championship the last 2 years.
Because you are top heavy.
ACC
ain't got the same 3 teams over and over.
Which the ACC is the same one team.
I agree.
I mean, you throw SMU in there now, but that's what they did last year. We'll see what they do this year. But classically historically rather, in the last decade or so, it's just been Clemson.
I don't disagree. But I'm not asking you to evaluate the Big Ten versus the 2020 ACC. I'm asking you to evaluate the 2025
You're right.
ACC.
The Big Ten this year is probably even more far above than the ACC than they have been in years past.
Eloquent answer from me. Nah.
We'll see.
We will. This is the fun part about #talking season.
We're going to see soon.
We have got a few more things that I want to get to as we wrap up the show. Lonzo and I are out tomorrow and Friday. Find a little vacay before we head to football season. Next week, y'all, starts football season. Next Saturday, we got college football on the docket. 5 games on that Saturday. A little appetizer, a little warm-up. We'll get you set up for that next week. So when we come back, a few stories that I want to get to before we call it a day from the other sports. But I will keep taking your answers. Dewey texted the show. I said, quote, I think both Cade and Sellers poop the bed and underperform. We'll see. We will get to your answers.
Come on, Dewey. You just decided to go all the way negative.
Paycheck on the line at the end of this season. Who will we say had the more successful season, Lenore Sellers or Cade Klubnik? Send your answer right now to the Hub City Spartanburger text line at 844-326-3663. We will read them when we come back. But a few more sports stories from other non-footballing sports that we haven't gotten to this week. We'll hit those when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg,
And on the Odyssey app.
Upstate.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center, here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Few scattered showers and storms possible late today. Partial sunshine develops, high of 88. Tonight, chance for storms, low of 72. Thursday, chance for storms, 88. Friday, chance for storms, 89. And still chance for storms for the weekend. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Vuchitsky on the Fan Upstate. Currently, it's 75.
And now, the Daily Sports Spin, powered by Ingles. Low prices, love the saving. This is the Rod Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
So we have talked a metric buttload of football so far this morning. Actually, I'm relatively sure, with the exception of the opening segment of the show, where I briefly talked about the issues moving forward, that while many Atlanta Braves fans are, I think, accepting finally that this year is, what's the word I'm looking for here? Tragic. That they've accepted it and gone, okay, it's a bust year, get some experience for the young guys, figure out what went wrong with the vets that are coming back, and let's be prepared to move on. Let's find the right guy and be prepared to move on to whoever takes the manager spot next year. Great, awesome, fantastic. I think the thing that is getting overlooked, though, is the situations that you're finding yourself in by being tragic and unmotivated this year could end up having very drastic long-term impacts on the guys that are currently on the roster moving forward. If you missed that segment, it was the opening segment of the show. You can go back and listen at thefanupstate.com on demand sometime later. But stick with me now, because there are some other sports stories that I would like to get to here this morning. One of them takes me to the world of NASCAR for just a few minutes. Now, if you have followed the show for any length of time, you know that I am a NASCAR guy. I like the sport of NASCAR. A couple of weekends ago, my better half helped me arrive at a realization that I had not had. We were at the house. It was Sunday, and it was yard work day. Now she loves to cut the grass. She loves to cut the grass. It's her zen. It's her meditation to get out there on the riding lawnmower, pop the headset on, and cut the grass. It's soothing.
It is very soothing. It's relaxing. It's definitely time away from everything else, and it's just you, your tunes, and the mower.
Not my thing. Her thing, it works out great. No yard work is my thing, but I also recognize because I'm an adult, it has to be done. So ordinarily,
and you used to have people to do that when you lived on the golf course.
No, I did not.
Things manicured.
No, I did not. My father at one point very, very boldly looked me in the face when I said, "Why don't you have somebody else cut the grass?" and said, "Why do you think I had you?" No, I did the yard work growing up. Not only did I...
Which, by the way, is why I do less yard work now, because I empty nest.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, yeah.
Little brother somehow, I'm going to sell him out here since he's not in the chat. Little brother, who, by the way, loved playing baseball and soccer growing up, somehow miraculously developed a grass allergy on yard work Sundays in the Brown family household back in the day. I don't know how that worked out. Phenomenal soccer player. Grass allergies on yard day. It's incredible how that works. It's only cut grass, though. If you cut the grass, he gets the allergy. You don't cut the grass, he's fine. I don't know how that worked out. Anyway, that's her zen. So she says, "Hey, yard work Sunday, can you go ahead and get the weed whacking done? Because that's my job. I weed whack the garden. I built the patio. You got to weed whack around that, whatever. Cool, yep, no problem." I said, "Yep, but give me like an hour, because I am going to check in on the NASCAR race for just a few minutes." And she said, "You're going to check in on the NASCAR race? You haven't been watching NASCAR this year." And I came to the realization that she's actually correct. As a NASCAR guy, I haven't watched a lot of races this year.
Why didn't you say, it's called a DVR, buddy? Get yourself out here and cut the...
Because I married a unicorn who understood, as many women in my past have not, that when I say I'm watching sports, yes, it is a thing I love to do, but also it is my job. And she's accepting of that. We've come to the compromise in matrimony of it is cool for me to say, not right this second, I'm going to watch the sport, provided I give her a time that thing is going to get done. So if I say I'm going to watch the NASCAR race, I say, but in an hour and a half, 2 hours, I'll go outside and weed whack. And as long as I do that, she's fine with it. So
you're not going to, you learned a lot in that hour that you watched. I mean, they're just all go around circle, go around circle, go around circle. You could have come back and watched like the last 10 laps, and pretty much if there were no cautions or anything like that, you've pretty much seen the race.
Not only is that entirely inaccurate and incorrect, but if you feel that way, this segment's not for you. Okay? It's just not.
I already knew that.
Fair enough. So I checked in and I was watching, it was the Iowa Corn, what was it, 350 or whatever it was. Not a short track, not a Bristol, not a Martinsville, but not a big 2.5 miler either. So I tuned in, and as I was watching the race, I found myself, after she called me out, and I recognize that she's absolutely correct, I have not watched nearly as much NASCAR this year as I normally and ordinarily do. Ordinarily, I try to go to at least one race a year, and that's probably still going to happen when they run the Roval up in Charlotte. I'll go to that race, but, you know, I was going to go to Atlanta this year. I didn't do it. I was going to go to the spring race in Darlington this year. I didn't do it. And not only did I not go to Darlington, but I was actually going to go with Buddy of the show, Doug Irwin of the Greenville Triumph. And he texted me the week of the Darlington spring race, and he said, yo, are we still on for Darlington? And I went, gonna keep it a buck with you, bud. I haven't even really been paying attention. I forgot it was this weekend. I've got plans. I'm out. And he said, cool, that's why I was texting you. So am I. We'll hit the next one. Point is, I kind of checked out of NASCAR, and I really started asking myself at that point in time, why? Why have I checked out of a sport that I have thoroughly liked, I would dare say maybe loved, since 2007, 2006, somewhere in that range? Well, Kyle Busch has a thought. The 40-year-old NASCAR all-star says that he believes that right now NASCAR is battling a, quote, culture problem, end quote. Here's what he told Jeff Gluck of The Athletic, quote, that's a tough one. I think it's a culture problem, and I say that in regard to the world culture. In the 80s and 90s, you had a bunch of hot rod guys who were cool with souping up their 1970s, 80s street rods. A lot of those guys are aged out. I just think the problem we're running into is there's not a lot of race fans anymore. People would always bring their kids to the track, but now there are just so many other things people can do otherwise. Going to the lake, taking your kids to a bounce house. No offense, but we just stood outside, right? It's 90-something degrees outside. Who wants to sit in metal bleachers under the sun for 3 hours? If you're out there, God bless you. More power to you. I appreciate that. We need to do more for those people who are here and give us their time and money, but you're not going to find me out there, end quote. Now, I don't think that what Kyle Busch said there is unfair. I also don't think that it is the primary portion of the problem. I have said before, I have a long-standing philosophy. If someone is not into a sport, the best way to get them into the sport is to take them to the sport. It is to bring them to the sport. It is to take them to an event, and don't just let them watch it, but let them ask questions and answer them succinctly, concisely, and correctly. I have never taken a newbie, a rookie, to a NASCAR race and not walked away with a new NASCAR fan. Because if you have the mentality, as some people do, of, well, it's just cars going fast and turning left a bunch, you don't really know what happens in the sport of NASCAR. But if you go watch a race, and I am not claiming to be a car guy. I'm not. I wish I was. I'd probably be more into NASCAR if I was. What I am saying is, I know more about the sport than that. I know enough about the sport that I can answer most questions, and if I can't, I know where to go look to find said answers. The problem is, I don't think NASCAR does a heck of a lot to make that a reality. Because I don't really have a hard time getting people who go, not a big hockey guy, to come to a Swamp Rabbits game and feel the vibes. I don't really have a hard time when somebody says, I'm not really a soccer guy, to go with me to a Triumph game or up to Charlotte FC or over to Atlanta for Atlanta United and to feel the vibe and get it. I have a really tough time, and historically have,
talking people into going to NASCAR races to feel the gas, to feel the vibe. It's tough to do. And I think a chunk of that reason is twofold. Number one, NASCAR doesn't do anything to advertise to not fans or to very casual fans, right? Or fans who aren't really fans, but they have a husband or wife or brother or son or uncle or aunt who is a fan. They don't really do a lot to advertise to those people. In fact, if you go back and you look at the last couple of in-season advertising campaigns for NASCAR, the overwhelming majority of them are basically, these guys go fast. It's like, yeah, that's the sport. I would hope that they do. There's just no advertising to the casual fans to get them interested enough to come out to a race and to get a feel, because NASCAR is much like hockey. The experience on TV is infinitely different than the experience that is in person. The second problem I think NASCAR has is that with the next-gen cars that they're racing, they're just not as exciting as the old stock cars used to be. How do I know that? Kevin Harvick pointed it out on his podcast the other day. At the last race out, an ARCA car. ARCA is the fourth division, owned by NASCAR, by the way. ARCA is the fourth division of professional racing. An ARCA car qualified with a faster speed than a NASCAR stock car, than a Cup Series car. They have taken, and I get it's in the name of safety, but we've got to find a compromise. They have taken so much horsepower out of the car that you don't really feel like you're watching some of the most powerful machines on the face of the planet race anymore. And because they have crafted it in such a way that everybody's car is so gosh darn identical, it's not really racing anymore. It's just kind of cruising around in circles in a group until somebody does something dumb or somebody wins. And that's not it either. When you take the excitement out of the race by throttling down the cars as you've done, and you don't advertise why it is exciting, of course people check out. Even people who like the sport like me. I didn't want to check out. I didn't even know I was checked out until it was pointed out to me that I was checked out. I'll be back in for the playoffs, but that's not good enough, is it? Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Real sports time, real sports fans.
The Fan Upstate
Is the sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. The Fan Upstate.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. Clemson football opens the season at home August the 30th. They'll take on LSU. Some changes in store at Memorial Stadium. This will be the first full football season that Clemson serves alcohol. There will also be a designated driver program. Concession transactions will be cashless. Meanwhile, gathering at the Paw could cause the university to be fined up to $200,000 if fans rush the field before the visiting team exits. Fans are going to be asked to enter the field through the hill and the west stands after the alma mater finishes playing. The Braves got pounded 13-5 on the road at New York against the Mets. Pete Alonso homered twice. His first of the game broke the franchise record for the Mets. It was his 253rd homer, surpassing the mark held by Darryl Strawberry for 37 years. The Mets hit 6 homers in the game. They all came with 2 outs. The series continues tonight. Righty Carlos Carrasco faces his former team. Listen anywhere on the Odyssey and TuneIn apps, and now the iHeartRadio app. Search the Fan Upstate. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
This Labor Day weekend, we're celebrating Bob's Discount Furniture's 200th store milestone with the entire Bob's family across the country. For more than 30 years, we've believed everyone deserves the home they love. That's why we brought our everyday low prices on furniture, mattresses, and more to over 200 locations from coast to coast and counting. Not to mention free treats for the whole family in our cafes. Celebrate Bob's Discount Furniture's 200 store milestone this Labor Day weekend.
Oh, my Bob!
When your name's on the paint job, your primer better hold up. Painters trust Kills primers for serious adhesion, stain blocking, and a finish that lasts. Now, the full Kills lineup is available exclusively at the Home Depot. Need it fast? Get same-day or next-day delivery, or order online and pick it up in-store. Kills primers. Pro results. Faster. The Home Depot. If you're a pro, you know.
For complete rules on contests on this station,
Yes. Right on. I can't believe it.
go to thefanupstate.com/rules. That's thefanupstate.com/rules.
Sometimes it's the little victories that mean the most. Those everyday celebrations that bring a smile to our faces and joy to our hearts. At Ingalls, we know there's no one you'd rather share those miniature, memorable moments with than family. Ingalls, all the ingredients for family.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply, stop to opt out.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country. When you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
Connect with a local divorce attorney today. Text OFFICE to 32 32 32. OFFICE to 32 32 32. 55 BD Greenville.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Back to school is on the brain. That means new notebooks, pencils, new everything. And while the kids are getting ready to get book smart, it's time for you to save smart with Straight Talk Wireless. Switch now and get a free Moto G 2025 with 5G when you activate select plans. Now that's a smart call. Get Straight Talk covered by Verizon's 5G network. Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Offer valid through 10/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Purchase of gold unlimited plan or higher required for offer. Must activate the plan in-store at Walmart. Cannot be combined with other offers.
This Labor Day weekend, we're celebrating Bob's Discount Furniture's 200th store milestone with the entire Bob's family across the country. For more than 30 years, we've believed everyone deserves the home they love. That's why we brought our everyday low prices on furniture, mattresses, and more to over 200 locations from coast to coast and counting. Not to mention free treats for the whole family in our cafes. Celebrate Bob's Discount Furniture's 200 store milestone this Labor Day weekend.
Oh, my Bob!
From the Ingalls Market Studio.
Tigers, Gamecocks, Panthers, Paladins, and Rebels. Punch your ticket to the best local sports. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app.
Upstate.
Your guide to the gridiron, the maestro of the matchups, and the keeper of all things cool in the sports world. This is the Rob Brown Show.
Oh, yeah. Lonzo's here, too.
This is the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show wrapping up the week. The Great One and I are out tomorrow and Friday, as we will be taking our final vacation before football season hits its stride starting next Saturday. We have got college football games that matter next Saturday. So we're taking the last couple of days of vacay coming up this week. Tomorrow and Friday will be out. We will return on Monday, and we have a full 5 days of radio broadcasting excellence before Saturday, August 23rd, when we head to Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland for number 22, Iowa State, number 17, Kansas State. 4 games stacked throughout the rest of the day after that. Not good ones. Who cares? I'll take real football every day.
Did Ireland request that game?
I don't know what the deal is with that, because we had Georgia Tech, Florida State last year. That was the beginning of the downfall of the Noles. They lost that game to the Reds.
But Georgia Tech, the ties to the country and everything were there. I think Notre Dame played there the year before.
Notre Dame's played there. Navy and Notre Dame have played there. Like, they've had some.
But what do these two teams have to do with Ireland?
I don't know. I got nothing for
teams. Like in the.
I don't know. I'm not sure how many Kansas State Wildcat fans are rolling around Dublin, Ireland. I do know it's going to be well traveled to, so we'll see. Idaho State, UNLV, Fresno State, Kansas, Sam Houston, Western Kentucky, and Stanford, Hawaii
will all play that day. Then we just got to wait till Thursday. We got a slate of games on Thursday, then Friday, then Saturday, and we will be underway over in the National Football League. We have got preseason week 2 coming up this weekend. We start on Friday night with Tennessee at Atlanta, Kansas City at Seattle. Then we got a full slate of games on Saturday, a couple on Sunday, and then August 18th, Monday night. First Monday night football of the year, I guess technically kind of it's preseason. Cincinnati at Washington, 1 week to go after that. And on September 4th, week 1 will arrive Thursday, September 4th, Dallas at Philly. Friday, Kansas City at the Chargers. And then Sunday, we are full tilt at 1 p.m. It's just around the corner, boys and girls. Hey, speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce. So Travis has got a lot going on right now. You know what? I'm sorry you got to take it off of what the X is going on, but it's worth it because we're going to talk about it for even an extended period of time here. Travis Kelce has a lot going on. Travis Kelce has Tay-Tay coming up on the New Heights pod. They've already started to drop some clips from them talking together. They are, and I will go on the record as saying, totes adorbs together. Taylor also dropped the name of her new album.
Promo, but her promo was hilarious.
It's genuinely funny. Like I will say, I have had the thought a few times, maybe this is a work of a relationship. It's great for Trav. He wants to be an entertainer. It puts him on the front page of every magazine. It's great for Tay-Tay because it opens her up to a demographic that she may not have had unfiltered access to in years gone by. But after watching the two of them together, even just in the promo, I'm like, nope, they totally dig each other. It's totally adorable. That being said,
and her saying all those guys, one thing they don't want to see, all those football players, I'm paraphrasing, is me, which I just think is funny. So she's aware of all
for
the
sure.
people complaining about her visibility.
You can say many things and call Taylor Swift many things. The one thing you can't call her is unaware. She's very aware of every little thing about her. That's why she's a billionaire. Now, with that being said, that's not the interesting part about this. The interesting part about this is that yesterday, as Travis Kelce was featured on the front page of, I believe it was GQ.
I believe it was GQ.
He's got a whole article about him in GQ. And in the article, interestingly enough, which features Travis.
Like you don't read GQ. I mean, come on.
I used to. I absolutely used to have GQ.
You're GQ's demo. So.
I used to absolutely have GQ. And Maxim. Used to be a huge Maxim guy. I haven't had a magazine subscription in a long time. Some of the pictures coming out of Travis, I assume, are very fashion forward, and I am not here to judge, but some of them also look absolutely beyond ridiculous. Cool. Great. If I look like that guy, I'd never have a shirt on.
Really?
I'm not judging.
You were saying this. So how ridiculous would it have to be before Rob Brown is like, oh, no, I wouldn't wear that?
I mean, kind of. But, like, I would say half the photos of Travis, I'd be like, nah, come on, guys. Come on. Can't you just like put me in a suit?
He might see your sparkly jacket and go, yeah.
Absolutely. Different strokes, different folks. No issue. Like, do your thing. And again, I clearly am not I like to joke that I'm fashion forward. I'm not. Joe Burrow showed up to the Paris Fashion Awards a couple of years ago in a regular suit and tie, except for it didn't have a back on it. It was like a backless suit and tie. And I looked at that and I was like, what the hell is that? What, Joe? What are we doing here? So I acknowledge I don't get fashion. I can pull together an outfit as long as that outfit involves like a polo shirt and matching pants and shoes, maybe some colored glasses. Like that's about the extent of it. But that's not even the story. The story here is Travis Kelce, who we all know that he kind of got onto the radar a number of years ago by hosting a reality show where he found a girlfriend. We all know that Travis Kelce has begun to make his way into TV shows and movies. He was a central portion of Happy Gilmore 2, which dropped on Netflix a little while ago. We all know that Trav and Jason have taken their podcast to become the biggest podcast hosted by former athletes, or I guess current athletes, in the entire game. Cool. Good with all of that. Travis Kelce also in that interview acknowledged that his efforts, work, whatever you want to call it, to be an entertainer, he firmly believes have taken away from his performance and success on the football field itself. I have but one question, and that is great one, especially coming off of not just a Super Bowl loss, but a Super Bowl loss in which the Chiefs got drummed and Travis Kelce was largely non-existent in that game. How do you feel about that?
First of all, not entirely Travis Kelce's fault.
No, not at all.
The line was horrible.
Yep.
And so Mahomes didn't have time to throw the ball. If you don't have time to throw the ball, he's not going to have a great game because there's no balls coming his way. As far as that goes, I think the entire team, from interviews, seem to have an edge. They're upset. They're angry. They're hungry. And so him saying this does not surprise me. Whatever you need to get that edge back, to get back to the Super Bowl and win it, I'm all for it.
Yeah, but like that's now that you were in the Super Bowl. And he just acknowledged that, like, I haven't been me because I've been off trying to become a superstar, which again, if anybody gets that, it's me. I promise. I understand. What I'm saying is if I roll up into a place of business and the guy comes out and he sucks at his job and he goes, sorry, bud, I was just trying to get my podcast posted. I'm a be hated. I got to say, I love Travis Kelce. I love Trav and KK.
I think it's more about the traveling he did and movies and stuff more so than the podcast. The podcast, he does it from wherever he is.
Sure.
It's not like he has to go to Philadelphia or whatever to do a podcast.
I don't disagree, but at the same time, you've done radio for a long time. It ain't like you just show up, crack a mic, and have at it. Like, it takes some work to get the whole thing together. I don't know. That was probably the first time in a long time that I looked at Trav and I was like, all right, buddy, you better get it back this year, though. Like, you better get it back. But that's just me.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right, this hectic day
gonna give it to you.
is finally coming to a close with What the X. And the first thing that will make you go, yo, man, what the X is going on is OBJ.
Is he signing with somebody?
Oh, so you don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, so
what don't I know?
It was, and it turns out it was a fake account, a fake Adam Schefter account put out that he had retired.
Did somebody get ad-armed?
Yeah.
Somebody got ad-armed?
So he is not, he has not been happy. He's been there saying, I have not retired. Don't listen to the internet and all that. And it's it's a thing.
There is a parody account on Twitter that goes by the handle Ad-Arn Schefter, ADARN Schefter. It's the same Twitter profile as Adam. It's everything. And in the bolded font, when you go on Twitter, like your handle is in bold, in the bolded font, the R and the N are very close to connecting. So if you are breezing by it without paying attention, it very much looks like Adam Schefter. And annually, as we get closer to the start of the NFL season, Ad-Arn puts up a couple of fake news stories, and he tweets about the exact same way that Adam does every year. Some people got somebody on on air, actively on ESPN, got Ad-Arn Schefter last year. They put the year before that, they put the Ad-Arn Schefter tweet on the TV, and then like 5 minutes later, they had to come back and be like, my bad. None of us, called Adam and said, is it you or is it Ad-Arn? He's gotten some names before.
I secretly hope it really is Adam Schefter, because that would be
the funniest thing in the world.
Would be pretty funny.
I would forgive all of the chaos around Adam if he comes out. He goes, all right, guys, I'm retired. Like to say thank you to everybody who was part of my career. I'd also like to thank all of you jackasses who fell for Ad-Arn. Got him. Adam Schefter will become my favorite journalist on the spot.
And it would be long term. And
the slow burn.
Yeah, which is one of my favorite things. All right, the next thing that's axing is Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Yeah, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the former president, CEO, owner, whatever you want to call him, of WWE. I don't know if this is why, but this is what I saw. Apparently, he did an interview with somebody.
I believe it was TMZ.
Okay, with somebody, and talked about a lot of stuff. One of the things they asked about, obviously, was Hulk Hogan, and they were like, yo, Hulk did and said a bunch of racist stuff, and then you immediately brought him back to WWE. Now, I have not seen what his answer was for that yet, but apparently it didn't sit right with a lot of people.
He said that Hulk said some racist things, but he had spent a lot of time with Hulk, and he was not a racist. That's just me paraphrasing, but I think it's pretty close. The reason why he's Xing, though, is because of his Botox or his plastic
I'm gonna keep it a buck, and I'm gonna get myself in trouble with this one. I saw the picture of him. He looks like a corpse.
Yeah, he
looks like a corpse.
It's not good.
Nah.
And the last thing that's Xing is Joe Hendry.
Joe Hendry is Xing because we believe in Joe Hendry.
He came out of a refrigerator yesterday. He came out of a lot of things because Ren Sinclair kept saying his name.
I love the gimmick of just show up. That's great.
Charlie Dempsey does not like it, so it makes it even better.
NXT is in Spartanburg, South Carolina on September 5th, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. If Joe Hendry shows up on the NXTs between here and there, my decision will be made. I will go. I 1,000% will go. Just one time, I want to tell Joe Hendry, I believe in you. I believe in all of you, and I believe that we will be back on Monday. Off tomorrow, off Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. Have a great weekend. Final countdown to college football starts next Monday on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later.
You're such an a-hole.
Listen on your phone. Download the Odyssey app and search The Fan Upstate.
2 years ago, Bobby Carpenter completed treatments for knee pain at QC Kinetics. So we're checking in with the former college and pro football player to see how he's doing.
I've been asked a lot, like, how long does this last? How long does it work? I go, I've had mine for a couple of years, and everything feels very good. It feels just as good as it did when I started to turn the corner.
Bobby's an active husband, dad, and business owner. That's why 2 years ago, he heard about QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative treatments, and he knew he could trust them for his chronic knee pain.
And thankfully, with QC Kinetics, I was able to go through this, and my activities are the same as it was. I'm able to coach my kids in sports. I can play golf. I can go run.
QC Kinetics patients like Bobby don't miss a beat. No surgery or rehab, just freedom from